And the recording has begun. I have 5:33. Would you like to introduce the meeting, Chair Hyland, or would you like me to?
Please go ahead, Cheryl. You can do it all.
This is the Education Outreach and Training Committee of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force. Today is March 8th. The time is 5:33. This is a remote regular meeting. The listen public call-in telephone number is 415-906-4659. The meeting ID is 309-103-243#. If you wish to make a statement during general public comment, please press *6 and unmute your telephone to speak. Please press *6 to mute your telephone once you are done with your statement. Please also note that callers may now raise their hand by pressing *5. Remote access to information and participation. In accordance with Governor Newsom's Executive Order 3320, declaring a state of emergency regarding the COVID-19 outbreak, and Mayor London and Breed's proclamation declaring a local emergency issued on February 25, 2020, including the guidance for gatherings issued by the San Francisco Department of Public Health officer, aggressive directives were issued to reduce the spread of COVID-19. On March 17, 2020, the Board of Supervisors authorized their board and committee meetings to convene remotely via Microsoft Teams and will allow remote public comment via teleconference. Members of the public may participate by phone or may submit their comments by email to cheryl.leger@sfgov.org. That's CHERYL.LEGER@sfgov.org. All comments received will be made a part of the official record. Sunshine Ordinance Task Force agendas and their associated documents are available at spos.org/sunshine. As the COVID-19 disease progresses, please visit the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force website regularly to be updated on the current situation as it affects the legislative process. Chair Hyland, do you want to read meeting decorum?
Yes, please go ahead.
Meeting decorum. Any member of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force may call for decorum due to disorderly conduct of meeting participants. Persons who engage in threatening and/or menacing behavior may be asked to leave.
Victor,
I would have gone for that red velvet. That red velvet's a hit. No kidding.
Please, if you are not speaking in turn, please mute yourself. *6. We can hear you.
Can you hear me? They can't hear me. They must not. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Cheryl. Excuse me.
thank you, Mr. Greer.
I was.
Yeah, we'll get to you shortly.
Should we call item number 1, Chair Hyland?
Please.
Item number 1, call to order, roll call, and agenda changes. Roll call. Member Yankee.
Present.
Member Yankee present. Member Padmanabhan.
Present.
Member Padmanabhan present. Chair Hyland.
Present.
Chair Hyland present. We have a quorum. I am not aware of any agenda changes. Do the members have any suggested changes? Have any changes on the agenda?
No, but I just want to note for the record that we're going straight into file 22009 to accommodate the Veterans Affairs Commission, who has a 6 o'clock meeting, and then we'll go to our adoption of the minutes after that. So that's a little bit out of the ordinary, and that's the reason for that. So please go ahead and call that file, please.
Item number 2, file number 22009, complaint filed by Hanley Chan against Mary Murphy and Victor Olivieri, Veterans Affairs Commission, for allegedly violating Administrative Code Sunshine Ordinance Section 67.5, 67.6, 67.7, 67.7.1 by failing to post an agenda and provide notice of hearing at least 72 hours before the meeting.
All right. And do we have both parties present?
Yeah, I'm present. This is Hanley Chan.
Thank you, Henry. And someone from Veterans? Hit *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, I'm present. Mary Murphy.
Very good. Okay,
Had
great.
a little trouble with the *6.
And there's a
Yes,
hand raise
you have
function.
yeah, sometimes there's a bit of a lag there. So, all right. So both parties are present. We'll go ahead and hear from Mr. Chan first, followed by Ms. Murphy.
Hello. Good
Just
evening.
wait for Ms. Leger to give you the start. She's going to time your presentation. You have up to 5 minutes if you need it.
Mr. Chan, are you ready to speak?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Sunshine Ordinance Task Force members. I want to thank you for accepting my complaint. I remember when I was chair of the Education and Outreach Committee of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, we always strive to be the best on what we do. We fight for open government. We are the educators of the public and ambassadors of open government. We follow the spirit of sunshine that the people voted back in the 90s, Prop G. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter. What I'm asking today is transparency from my fellow commissioners. I believe the Rules Committee of the San Francisco Veterans Affairs Commission erred by not holding an open meeting for the proposed bylaw changes on its agenda and notified commissioners of the Rules Committee for a discussion on the proposed bylaw changes as required by law. As commissioners, we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard. That includes transparency so the public can see what we are doing. I respectfully ask that you uphold my request, and thank you so much for this opportunity to air my concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Chan. Is that the end of your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Is anybody here in support of the petitioner? Please hit *6 and let us know you'd like to talk. Hearing none.
For public comment, right?
No, this is as party to the petitioner.
Right. This is Bill Barnacle. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry. Who's this?
Bill Barnacle.
Yes. Are you party to this?
Hi. My name is Michael Nolte. I'm on a Veterans Board of Directors in San Francisco, and I'm also the Executive Director of Alliance for Better District 6, which was formed in 1998.
Let me stop you there. I think you might be. Do you mean to talk on behalf of the commission? In which case you'll follow.
Yes,
Murphy?
I do.
Okay, so
I'm talking under public comment. I thought this was public comment.
No, we haven't got there yet. We haven't got to public comment. We're just doing the opening statements by both parties. So you gentlemen will have a chance to talk in public comment. So, okay, Ms. Leger, please let Ms. Murphy know when you're ready to hear her presentation. Everyone else, please mute yourselves by hitting *6. Thank you.
Ms. Murphy, are you ready to begin? Hello, Ms. Murphy? Press *6 if you are unmuted to unmute.
Hello, yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Are you ready to begin your statement?
I am, yes, I am.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, first I thought I was speaking, I know it was, the complaint was filed about a meeting that was held and it was not, the public was not notified. But as far as the meeting was concerned, there was never a meeting of the Rules Committee to review bylaw changes. That the bylaw changes were made as a draft, and the committee did not meet. It was brought directly to the commission. So that's what I know in terms of this complaint. There was never a meeting held, and that's why there was no notification given. And a meeting was not required. I should add that also as well.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or does that conclude your statement?
I think that's it. No, that would be it.
Okay. And the original complaint is against yourself and Victor Olivieri. Is Mr. Olivieri here?
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. If you'd like to talk as party, you can do so now, or you can talk during public comment on afterwards?
I would love to address right now, if you don't mind.
All right. Cheryl, please let Mr. Olivieri know when you are ready.
Are you ready, sir?
Yes, ma'am. So thank you very much for, so my name is Dr. Victor Olivieri. I am the chair of the Rules Committee and two-term immediate past president of the Veterans Affairs Commission. I've been on the commission for 6 years now. And here are the basic facts of what you have before you. The Rules Committee did not meet in January or in February, in case you were wondering. The Rules Committee did not have any business before the commission, and it was clearly stated on the agenda, and it was clearly stated during the public meeting of the body that took place in February. The email thread that was provided as evidence by the plaintiff took place after the meeting that I just spoke about, after the meeting that was the basis for the complaint. So ultimately, this is a completely baseless, completely frivolous complaint by a disgruntled commissioner who is probably unhappy with his standing on the commission, but his inability to showboat and act unilaterally in the public sphere, and it is a complete waste of everyone's time. I'm so sorry that you've been caught up in it. You would do well to,
Mr. Olivieri, I'm going to interrupt you there. Please,
sure.
Please talk with respect about everyone in this item. Okay, I'll give your time back to you. Please carry on.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
I was trying to provide a little background on the situation. Now, I don't know why he got all these people apparently to call in to the meeting, but that's what he does. He gets people to show up, do things, and speak without knowledge of the subject at hand. So I just want to bring it back to the complaint itself and reinforce the facts that the Rules Committee did not meet in January or in February. The Rules Committee did not have any business before the commission, and these were clearly posted on the meeting agenda well in advance of the 72 hours that were required to post. And it was clearly stated by myself and the other members of the commission during the public meeting that the body itself held in February. And that is it. Thank you very much for your time. And once again, thank you very much for accommodating us. We have a meeting in 15 minutes, and we really appreciate that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else talking on behalf of the respondent? All right. Hearing none. Members, this is before you.
Can you hear me?
We're going to discuss amongst the members. If we're going to ask for questions from parties, we'll let you know. So please mute your microphones, *6 everyone, except for the 3 commissioners to discuss.
Hi, this is President of the Veterans Affairs Commission, Commissioner Mansouri. Can you hear me?
Ma'am,
yes.
Please your last name?
Actually, let's go with Mr. Highland or Chair Highland's instructions. The only people who should be speaking at this point in time are members of the commission, unless there is a question. We have not gotten to public comment yet. If you don't mind holding your comments until we get to public comment, it would be appreciated. Yeah, at this time, we are deferring to the commission, the SOTF, EOTC commissioners, so that they can ask questions.
All right. Thank you, Victor. Okay, members, this is before you. Everyone else, please mute your microphones. We can still hear background noise. *6, or Victor, if you'd like to mute everyone, that would be great. And I see Member Yankee, you have your hands up. Go ahead, please.
Sure. Thanks. This is a question for Mr. Olivieri. I noticed that I'm looking on page P12, P13. It's an email that you wrote and says, please take a look at the proposed bylaw changes and provide me with your comments, edits no later than February 18th so the executive committee has time to vet the changes with the city attorney's office. I'm just curious, was there a public meeting of this executive committee where the bylaws were on the agenda? I know you'd mentioned it wasn't on a rules committee agenda, but was it on an agenda of the, it sounds like there's some type of executive committee made up of commissioners?
Just to double check, can you hear me okay? I muted myself and I'm not sure if I'm back or not.
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. So I can speak only to the meetings that I know that the executive committee took place of. Since I'm not a member of that committee itself, but I do know they meet regularly, they meet weekly, and things have changed a little bit since we ended up getting Ms. Murphy on board. She is our first full-time secretary, So things are running a little bit different now that the commission has become much more professionalized. She came on board in January. So since then, I believe that the president and Ms. Murphy meet, and I'm not exactly sure if the executive committee meets regularly like they used to.
Then maybe Ms. Murphy would be the better person to answer my question. Ms. Murphy, could you let us know, was there a meeting of the executive committee? And maybe you could talk a little bit about who's on the executive committee? And then if this was an agenda item on it.
Sorry, this is Mary Murphy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Ms. Murphy.
I'm sorry. I just lose the sound when it unmutes. Sorry about that.
No
so the question is, if there's a meeting of the executive committee, there are not structured meetings. I have a call. The executive committee is the president of the commission, the vice president of the commission, and myself as the commission secretary. And I've been serving as the commission secretary just since January. So to help me during the onboarding process, I've been meeting, well, not immediate, I should say there's no agenda. It's not an agenda meeting. It's really to explain things to me and to help familiarize me with the structure of the committee. But so when they said, when Commissioner Oliveri said that we are reviewing the bylaws, it would be in that capacity, not in the formal meeting, but over a call. We would talk, and then I contact the deputy city attorney for his vetting of the bylaws. So if that helps, that was the process.
Okay, so that meeting would have been you and the commission president and the commission, or the commission chair and vice chair. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, myself, three people. Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Okay.
Member Padmanabhan, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is for the petitioner. Why do you believe that there was a Rules Committee meeting held to discuss this matter?
Because the proposed bylaw changes was not even discussed. He presented, Commissioner Oliveri presented a bylaw change where we didn't even hold a meeting to discuss any changes to the bylaws. I mean, is this a secret meeting? I don't know, right? And then when I questioned that, if you read the evidence and the emails, it stated that, I don't think we should carry on the meeting. So I could secretly change the bylaws by myself without any input with commissioners and in the public. And is that transparency? I don't know.
Could I respond to that?
Sure.
Just to clarify, and I'm sorry, I'm sorry if Commissioner Chan was or feels that there was a secret meeting, but there was nothing. I think there was a request made as the commission had a new secretary, which is a brand new role for this commission, and so everything is new, and the bylaws were going to be redrafted to reflect this, and a request was made to Commissioner Oliveri if he would take a stab at drafting the new bylaws, only to add this position into the bylaws and maybe remove. There had been a commission secretary that position was removed. Now that there was some administrative support, so it was really a request to give a first draft that would absolutely be brought to the commission to be voted on before anything was changed. So I'm just sorry to hear that there was a feeling that something was done secretly, because that wasn't my feeling at all.
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to corroborate if I have a minute.
So I have another question before that. So were the bylaw changes produced at the general meeting on February 8th?
No.
Yes,
writing?
There were, as a draft. As a draft, it was shown, it was shared. Commissioner Oliveri shared it with the full commission. This is his first draft, and everyone please give their input. And at that point, it would, it was just the very beginning of the process.
And was there a vote on it?
No,
there was no vote.
Yeah.
No, it was just.
I want to reiterate my point, if you don't mind, Mary. The Rules Committee did not have any business before the Commission. This was not an action item. It was not even a discussion item. This was part of the committee report, and the actual work that was done was, as Ms. Murphy stated, I was tasked with putting together a draft to present to the Commission. Once that was presented to the Commission, we would take that into committee, and then we would have a discussion, a meeting if necessary. The draft would be then taken to the City Attorney's office after the Executive Committee had taken a look at it. And then, after all those steps, then we would have produced an agenda item for the Commission to take a look at the bylaws and vote on them. But we still haven't done that. We're not doing that tonight because we still haven't gone through the steps. And once again, the email that was produced as part of the evidence happened after the fact of the complaint. So I really don't understand the complaint at all.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, who was that just speaking?
That was Mr. Olivieri.
Olivieri. Okay, great. Thank you.
I believe.
Yes. Thank you.
Members, any thoughts? Because we're gonna let these commissioners go. They have a meeting in 5 minutes. But I guess first and foremost, do we feel this is in our purview? And how should we package it to send up to the full task force? Any preliminary thoughts? Zach, Member Yankee, you have a comment?
Yeah, I'll jump in. It sounds to me like this is more of a dispute internally about how a topic may be assigned to a committee or not assigned to a committee versus necessarily a agenda issue. So it sounds like this is still kind of in the works, and there might be some type of internal disagreement over whether or not it should be referred to a given committee. But as we've seen in our own task force here, sometimes things we discuss preliminarily at a committee, and sometimes members ask to have something put directly on the main task force agenda. So I'm not sure there's much we can do here, but I'll hear everyone else's thoughts on it.
Okay.
I agree with Member Yankee. If the Rules Committee meeting was not held, I don't think there's anything to move forward at this point.
I mean, there might be some violations of the Brown Act, but that's not necessarily. I'm wondering if does that fall under our purview also? What do you think, Member Yankee?
Well, what were you thinking, Chair Hyland?
Well, I'm not sure they're there yet. So I think the first part of it is what you're saying, but I would certainly take what former member Chan has to say, since he is well versed in sunshine laws. So that's why I wanted to see whether this is worth setting up the full task force. But because the meeting hasn't happened, is there a violation yet? So I'm still kind of trying to come to terms with that, but it looks like we're undecided at this point. Is there anything that we have jurisdiction over here yet? I keep coming back to that word.
Yeah, I'm not sure we do yet because it hasn't been agendized yet, right? So that's, I guess, my concern is that I'm not sure what it is we'd particularly be looking at, because I think it sounds more of the dispute about should it have been assigned to the Rules Committee first, or can it go directly to the full committee on their agenda? And it sounds like neither of those referrals have been made yet, and whether or not it goes to their Rules Committee or whether it goes to their full commission, I'm not sure something that really is within our jurisdiction. That's probably between their chair and members and whatever bylaws help govern that process. I mean, once it makes on the agenda, then obviously, yes, it needs to be noticed properly and they have to take comments and all that, but I'm not sure we're even there yet.
Yeah, but I think the finer question is, should this much work have been done on the bylaws in the first place and ended up in a draft before anything's noticed, agendized, or discussed in public? I think that's really what Member Chen is probably getting at, if I read his intentions correctly. So, but again, I'm not sure where it hasn't hit our desk yet, so to speak, because it hasn't happened, if you like.
I think it's a question, Chair Hyland, and maybe, my understanding was that this was just a draft that Commissioner Alvieri drafted by himself and submitted. But if he was working with, other folks behind the scenes, then there might be an issue of some type of serial meeting that occurred that would be concerning. Right. Maybe if he's still here, Mr. Alvieri could, let us know.
I'm still here, and I can confirm that I did not work with anybody else. I was personally tasked by the President of the Commission to draft this up because, as you can imagine, as President, I was the most knowledgeable person on the Rules Committee, and on a period of transition where our past secretary literally died that very same month. We had a massive loss of information. We needed to get something up and running as soon as possible, and that was the reason why we're calling it a draft and nothing else. It's not something that we put before the Commission, and it's certainly not something that the City Attorney has even looked at yet. So it's not ready to be an item of discussion for the Commission. But thank you for letting me provide that last point of clarification there, that I did not meet with anybody else to discuss this.
Okay.
Okay. So and then I'm going to allow former member Hanley Chan to jump on because the other side has had a lot of airtime. If you'd like to say anything at this point, or unmute yourself, please. And then Cheryl, please give him 3 minutes.
Okay, just a second. Hang on. You ready to begin? Is this rebuttals?
Yes, this is rebuttals.
Are you ready, sir?
Yes.
You may begin.
So, okay. So, if you see the email trend, right, I asked for a discussion and a meeting to discuss the bylaw changes. And how would I know that he didn't do a secret meeting? How would I know that, wow, he did it by himself, right? That's why I asked, hey, we need a meeting with our Rules Committee. That's me and Commissioner McDonald, but we weren't notified or anything, right? And I asked in email, if you see it, right, we need to hold it, right? We need to hold a meeting so we could discuss it. And he states, I don't think so. So he thinks, he thinks we don't have to meet and discuss the bylaw changes as the Rules Committee was always tasked to change the bylaws. And, it's kind of like something suspicious, right? I mean, I think the spirit of sunshine, we need to be open, right? We need to encourage other commissioners to have input, have the public have their input too, because we in San Francisco uphold sunshine very, 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 very strictly because of our sunshine and open government laws. Thank you.
Okay. And just to be fair, any rebuttals for the Veterans Commission? If anyone's still here and would like to rebut, I'll give you 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you very much. This is Victor Olivier again. Just 2 last quick points. Number 1, there's nothing in our bylaws that requires the Rules Committee to meet. And there's nothing in the bylaws that requires the Rules Committee to meet to make bylaw changes. In other words, anybody on the Commission may propose bylaw changes. Now, taking one step back from that fact, no one did propose any bylaw changes because they were not agendized. We're still 2-3 steps away from doing that. Again, the Executive Committee has not looked at any proposals. The City Attorney has not looked at any proposals. And the Commission itself hasn't had a business item before anybody else. And that's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Chan, back to you. It sounds like, when this does come up, you're going to have ample opportunity to debate, disagree in the public domain about any bylaw changes. Am I correct?
It kind of sounds like it, but like I need a 100%. It sounds like I said, it's a resistance of having input, right? I think by the sound of it, maybe this hearing maybe opened up, right? I think we as commissioners, like I said, need to hold accountability to openness, right? We need to be open, and having one person writing all the bylaw changes without discussing to other members and even the public, it's kind of like a little bit fishy, right? I think that's what the Rules Committee needs to do, or Commissioner Oliveri needs to bring it up in the Rules Committee so we could air out and discuss these things.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, members of this commission, what is your pleasure on this one? And then after that, we'll open up to public comment. Member Yankee, you're leaning into your microphone.
Sure. I'm thinking perhaps in this case, it might be a little premature to send it on to the full task force. I'm wondering if it wouldn't be beneficial to continue this item, allow the bylaw process to play itself out and see if it does make an agenda. And then, if it does not, then obviously Mr. Chan can come back here and add that additional evidence. Or if it does make an agenda, he might feel that process now is played out and we can kind of dispose of this at that level rather than prematurely sending to the task force. But what do you guys think?
I think that's a sensible course of action. And normally this would go to CAC, but I think we'll keep it here. Jaya, what do you think? Just because we've heard enough that we'll know what we're looking for. So let's keep this open and continue to the call of the chair. And Mr. Chan can always let our administrator know if there's other items of concern, and then we can bring this back before us at that juncture.
This is Victor Young. Can I suggest a time limit on this of maybe 3 to 4 months?
Sure. And then we'll, if we don't hear from Handy Chan, we'll close the item.
We can reschedule. We could reschedule it if we don't hear anything, just to give all the parties opportunity to speak.
Now, I'm saying if we continue it to, let's say, where are we, to let's say the June meeting, but we need to hear from the petitioner if he'd like to continue it, and have Cheryl check in with, let's say, a month earlier and find out what happened, what's the process. Is he satisfied that everything was done correctly? If he's not, then he can present the new evidence, and we can have this back before our EOTC. Is that what you're thinking, Victor?
Yes.
Okay.
Just setting a timeline so it doesn't sit indefinitely.
Okay. So, I guess this is becoming a motion. So I'll propose a motion to continue to the call of the chair, and give Mr. Chan until June 1st to submit additional findings, documentation, and failing that, the item will close.
Can I second that motion?
Okay. All right. Okay, let's have some public comment on this item. Please unmute your mics and say your name, and Cheryl will make a list, and then she'll come back to you in order so that you may talk. So.
Hello, my name is Karina Finn. Can I speak?
Just a moment, ma'am.
Karina, we're going to add your name to the list. Anybody else?
Courtney Ellington.
Okay, I heard a Courtney.
Ellington.
Okay.
Romana Alado.
That's the third speaker, Romana.
Countess Chandler.
Okay,
Romana,
that
what's your last name?
Alado. A-L-A, E as in David O.
Joan
Lee.
I didn't hear
Anthony
that.
Ellington.
Just a moment, one at a time, please. I need to hear your name. We have a Courtney Ellison, a Roman Aldalo.
It's Romana Alado. A-L-A-D as in David O.
Okay.
Did you get that?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
There were other
Charles
speakers.
Baker.
Charles Baker.
Correct.
Paul Nolte,
I didn't hear that. What?
Michael Nolte, N-U-L-T-Y.
Do we have other speakers?
Joan Lee.
Joan what?
Lee, L-E-E.
Okay. Who else?
Anthony Ellington.
One at a time.
Anthony Ellington.
And then there's another name.
Sean Michaud.
Chandler.
Sean what?
Michaud.
Can you spell that, please?
M-I-C-H-A-U-X.
And there was a female speaker.
Countess Chandler.
Joan Fish Chandler.
Countess. C-O-U-N-T-I-S-S. Chandler.
Chandley.
Michael Nolte, N-U-L-T-Y.
I got that. So far, I have Courtney Ellison, Romana Alado, Charles Baker, Michael Nolte, Joan Lee, Anthony Ellington, Sean Michaud, and Countess Chandley. Am I missing anyone?
Anonymous number 3.
Are there other speakers?
Winship Hillier.
Sorry, did you get anonymous number 3? I can't hear.
Yes, I did. These are all public speakers on the motion as moved by Chair Hyland. Okay.
Cheryl, hold on 1 second. I'll tell you when I'm ready to start this. Stand by, everybody. Okay, we're going to start public comment. Cheryl has a list. We have a long agenda today, so public comment today for all items is going to be 2 minutes per speaker, just to keep it consistent. So Cheryl will let you know when you have 30 seconds left. If you have your own timers, you can do that as well. Okay, Ms. Leger, when you're ready, please let the first speaker know that you're ready to start the clock.
Courtney Ellison is the first speaker. Are you ready to begin, ma'am?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Courtney Ellington, and I am the CEO of One Vet, One Voice, and I'm the first vice commander of the American Legion for the District 8. In the military, we are taught integrity, duty, respect, honor, and so many values that most veterans carry on into their civilian life. And when we are put in leadership positions, the community is dependent on us to do the right thing and not abuse our authority. Now, I'm sure that this situation could have been handled and at the lowest level, but it would take both parties coming together. But instead, one chose to go to other community leaders to validate his wrongdoing. There was a lot of things that wasn't mentioned in this on this call, and I think that to say that this is premature after Mr. Victor has already changed the bylaws, I think that is enough to say, hey, he is violated by feeling like, oh, I'm a doctor and I had more experience. I don't think that's fair to the other members. And also, leading up to this day, I've been informed of that particular community leader slandering Mr. Chan's name, and just like he started off doing it. And the sad part is, I've heard and saw with my own eyes of messages of him manipulating and bullying other federal veterans that is in the hospital fighting to get well about this particular situation. I feel like it should go past this, and I don't think this is premature. The community wants answers, and we are held to a higher standard when we are put in a leadership position. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Romana Alado.
Good evening. My name is Romana Alado. I was born, raised, and am currently a San Francisco resident. After 41 years of service, I retired from the California state of California. I believe any entity, organization, or agency receiving partial or full funding from federal, state, city, or county resources should apply the rule of transparency to all their business dealings. As a longtime California employee, I practiced transparency in all business I negotiated for the state, as we were all accountable for every taxpayer dollar. I do not understand how or why a committee is necessary if one person can unilaterally make changes without committee vote or basic input. Why even bother having a committee if you are creating your own draft without input? In closing, I am appalled to hear Mr. Oliveri slander Hanley Chan in a public forum, and I am thankful somebody stopped him. Is he really the same person that defended our rights and freedom? Very hard to believe he is. Please grow up, as you just embarrassed yourself for all to hear. Just embarrassing. Thank you.
The next speaker is Charles Baker. Mr. Baker, are you ready to speak?
I am. Can you guys hear me?
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Yes, are you ready to speak?
I am.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello, my name is Charles Baker. I'm a native of San Francisco, and I am a United States Air Force veteran. I believe that when we are appointed to a position of power and we create committees, we should discuss among our members any changes or plans made to implement or change any kind of ruling, especially one which is backed by federal taxpayers. So to make any plans or rulings without any input from your committee, it's wrong. So I fully back and understand where Hanley Chan is coming from, and I support his call on this decision.
You're finished, Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Okay. I have Michael Nolte.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, you may begin.
Yes, I wasn't clear if I was muted or not. Yes, well, first, as a matter of point of interest or order, it's hard for this meeting if you don't understand if you're muted or unmuted the way you're doing this. But anyway, I'll go on with my comments. My name is Michael Nolte. I am on the board of directors of a nonprofit that deals with veterans in San Francisco. I am also 45-year-old. For 45 years, I've been on various boards of directors and over 20 of them in San Francisco and over 130 different causes in San Francisco. And I've won many awards for trying to keep causes in San Francisco addressed. And it's very concerning when a member of the commission is not taken seriously when they have a complaint. Normally, a Sunshine Task Force related complaint, if it has any merit, it has to be reviewed and submitted not only to the commission, but eventually to the Sunshine Task Force. And the way I'm hearing this is being handled, it seems to be in a way, oh, we don't want to deal with this right now, maybe later. And it seems like
25 seconds.
The integrity of the commissioner is also being at stake here. So I believe that there's some issues beyond just what this complaint is about. Thank you.
Next speaker is Joan Lee. Ms. Lee, are you ready to begin speaking? Press star 6 if you think you've muted yourself. Ms. Lee?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, are you ready to begin?
I am. So I'm
Go
Joan
ahead,
Lee. Okay, my name is Joan Lee. I'm a United States Army Desert Shield, Desert Storm veteran. And I would just like to say that listening to the facts or what was presented here today, I'm not sure of what Victor's last name is at the moment, but the display of arrogance that he displayed was disgusting. The fact that he could slander and say the things that he said about Mr. Chan, it was just absolutely ridiculous that he would even present himself that way, especially after he stated that he's the most knowledgeable person to have been able to present this draft. The fact that a draft was even done without public input or without other members being able to give their input, that's egregious. And something needs to be done about it, because you can say that has it risen to a level that it needs to go above us, and maybe and everyone feels like it has not. But if he's allowed to get away with this, what will he do next? And I just don't think that's the way this task force or any of this should be conducted. He needs to be put in his place, because he's not bigger than any member. He's not bigger than any of this committee, and his actions today shows that he feels like he is. And I just think it's outrageous. And if you all allow him to get away with this, then maybe something needs to be done about this whole process. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Anthony Ellington. Mr. Ellington? Mr. Ellington, you might want to press star 6. Maybe you've muted yourself. We can come back to Mr. Ellington. Sean Michoud, did I pronounce that correct? Sean, are you available to speak? Press star 6 to have yourself unmuted. Sean, are you available to speak?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, how you doing? I'm Sean Michaud, United States Navy veteran, American Legion Post 333. Just if I could just weigh in on just what I've heard, I believe that when you're in a position of power, it's important to to involve the people that you have power over, and it seems to me that the way this was put together, something just doesn't sit right. It just doesn't seem that if it's a decision that is going to be made about a whole group or done by the committee that's going to affect other posts and veterans of that nature, whatever, it should involve the input of other members. I'm not sure how the bylaws work, but I would think that if it's something that if it's not in the rules, then it should be that everyone should be allowed to partake in meetings that affect everybody. I don't think there should be a decision that should be made that everybody is bound by but didn't have an input on. So that's all I have to say about it. And I support Mr. Chan.
Is that it? Is that it, sir? Sean, is that it? Okay. We will go to Countess Chanley.
Good evening. It's Countess Chandler.
Chandler.
Yes. I feel that I am a veteran for the Tennessee Army, and Mr. Victor is clearly abusing power by changing the bylaws without
Go ahead. Ms. Chandler, I've stopped the clock. Ms. Chandler, have you muted yourself accidentally? Press *6. We can't hear you. Ms. Chandler, press *6 so that we can hear you and you can finish your public comment. All right. All right. Chair Hyland, I'll go to the next speaker.
Yes, please. Thank you.
That would be anonymous number 3.
Hello.
Are you ready?
I am.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. This is anonymous number 3. I think the committee was on the right track when it was discussing potential seriatim meeting violations. Because that, if there was a violation, that's where it is. It's not just who did that one commissioner work with in making the draft. There's that email thread that's referenced in the documents. And I think before, look, if you just continue the matter, you're effectively, if there is a real violation, you're effectively not letting the full task force rule on it. So I think you should add to your motion to direct the respondent to provide you 3 pieces of information. Who was on the executive committee at the time of that email thread, who was on the rules committee at the time of that email thread, and all other people who interacted on that email thread. Because if a quorum of either of those committees discussed anything on that thread, that is a seriatim meeting. They actually did conduct a meeting, because you can conduct a meeting by email, and that would be an illegal meeting. And just because the draft wasn't prepared originally, he claims he didn't work with anyone else, that's not enough for it to be okay. You can't discuss over email what you would want in that draft or what should be changed as he asked for comments or anything like that. You cannot do that if the total number of people having that discussion is a quorum of either the rules committee or the executive committee or any other committee or the full body. So I think you should direct the respondent to provide you those 3 pieces of information in writing.
30 seconds.
Because that would show you whether a violation occurred or not. Thank you.
All right.
One more speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Hillier,
Yes,
are you ready to begin, sir?
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
Okay, I second what anonymous number 3 said. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hillier.
I want to go back to Anthony Ellington. Sir, you have not made your public comment. This is your second chance. Press *6 to unmute yourself so that we can hear what you're saying.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
This is Mr. Ellington. Mr. Ellington?
Yes, we heard you there for a second.
This is Anthony.
Are you ready to begin?
Okay, hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes. You may begin.
Okay. My name is Anthony Ellington. I'm a San Francisco resident. I'm listening to everyone's comments. It's very interesting that Mr. Oliveira, something incorrectly, has a elevated belief of himself. And I don't think that's good for anyone sitting in the seat.
You have to speak up. We can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me better now?
Much better, yes. Do you want to hear?
I listened to...
Hang on, sir. Chair Hyland, because we couldn't hear him very well when he started. Should we start his time again?
Yes, please, Cheryl. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay,
I've been listening.
Okay, let the man talk.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. My name is Anthony Ellington. I've listened to this entire thing, and I agree with many of the statements that are made by the public. Also, I'd like to add that Mr. Oliveira has a very highly elevated opinion of himself, right next to a God complex, and he's behaving in such a way. I don't think that any sitting official in any form could be that way. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Do we have other public commenters before public comment is closed?
Hi, my name is Karina. Can I speak?
All right. It's Karina, K-A-R?
E-N-A.
And your last name?
Feng, F-E-N-G.
All right, Karina, you can begin speaking.
All right, so the complaint issue is on transparency and compliance with sunshine laws. Victor was primarily focused on about not getting his draft ready, and then there's a process, and then when and he closes the draft or whatever he comes up with from an open discussion, which can better whatever he wants to write later on in the bylaws, which is beneficial for the whole community instead of just figuring it out on his own, which I think it's a good idea to allow everybody in on whoever's concerned about this bylaw to, from start to finish, to be transparent and in compliance with sunshine laws. So he's trying to not like evade or something from the sunshine law and not talk about it and talk about him going by the bylaws in completion, that's all he has to comply with and nothing else kind of thing. So basically is that I support everyone that's in support of
Mr. Hanley Chen, and I think that everybody is here to stand with justice, because that's what this is all about, to hold the sunshine laws at the highest standards possible, where San Francisco holds a model for the rest of. Hello?
We hear you.
Oh, okay. So, in conclusion, is that I find that Mr. Hanley Chen is of the highest integrity here, and he's very honorable. He's a very honorable commissioner. Whether it's in the past or whatever he's talking about right now is truly holding the highest integrity of the Veterans Commission, and
Okay, thank you.
I
Your
respect.
time is up.
Oh, okay, all right.
And I wanted to go back to Ms. Chandler. Ms. Chandler, you were cut off during your public comment. Would you like to conclude that? Are you still out there? Hit *6 to unmute. Okay. Public comment is now closed. Members, any additional thoughts? Member Padmanabhan?
Chair Hyland, I do believe that we should include what Anonymous 3 has suggested, perhaps.
Yes, I agree. That was kind of what I was getting at when I was talking about the Brown Act Syria violations. So I think we need to examine that a little bit further. So we have an instruction in the motion to the petitioner. We're also going to add an instruction to the respondent, and it's as follows. So, Mr. Leger, if you could write this down. Basically, and this is regarding the email thread that was presented to us in the package. And the questions are, who is the executive committee? I believe it's the president, the vice president, and Ms. Murphy, the secretary. That's what they told us, but I'd like to get it from them too. Who is currently on the rules committee? We know Mr. Chan is one member of that. And number 3, everyone that was on that particular email chain referenced in our packet. And Ms. Leger, if you can go into the packet and look at the dates of that email chain and the subject line and reference that directly. We'd like a response to those 3 items in the next 5 days, business days. Cheryl, did you get all that?
Yeah, I was typing it.
Great. Okay. Like I said, it's in the record already. So,
Yeah.
But that's that. Okay. I think we may have lost member Yankee. I'm not seeing him on camera, but
No, I'm
you're there. All right. Okay. So, and does a second accept that instruction?
I do.
Okay, great. Okay, let's go ahead and take a roll call on that.
Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Padmanabhan, aye. Member Yankee?
Aye.
Member Yankee, aye. All right, I was typing it in there. I hope I got it right. Moved by Chair Hyland, second by Member Padmanabhan, to continue the matter to the call of the chair and give Mr. Chan until June 1, 2022 to submit additional findings and documentations, and failing that the item will close. This is regarding the email thread in the package.
No. Let me stop you there. There are 2 separate instructions, Cheryl. So you're done with Mr. Chan. Now, the second set of instructions are for the commission. Specifically, make this request to Ms. Murphy. I think she can gather all this for us. So, So that's the pretext, and then go ahead with the rest of the details.
Request to Ms. Mary Murphy that the email thread in the package of who is the members of the executive committee, the president, the vice president, and the secretary, and everyone who was on that email chain that was referenced in the packet, and reference.
Okay, let me reread it. So you got the first part right, and the instruction to Hanley Chan June 1st is great. And actually, you know, remove the wording about closing the item. Just, you know, please let us know by June 1st if there's any additional documents or information you have on this item, period. Second instruction to Ms. Murphy, and you might as well include Victor Olivieri since he was named, the following information. 1, members of the executive committee, let them tell us who they were, names. 2, members of their rules committee. 3, any other members or people on the email chain referenced in the package, and I'm going to pull that up for you. Let's see if I can find the, and this is the email from Mr. Olivieri to, I guess, other members of the Veterans Affairs Commission. So any other names, who else was on this discussion chain regarding this draft? Give me 1 second. See if I can find the actual.
P12.
P12, thank you, Jaya. Let's see, P12. My system's a little bit slow here. So do you see any other names on there, Jaya? I'm just seeing it's an email from Olivieri to Chan, but I don't see anything more than that.
No, I don't see anything more than that.
Okay, well, this is then to Ms. Murphy and Mr. Olivieri. Anybody on an email chain discussing this bylaw draft, all names. And they can send us the original emails. We can take a look. And they have 5 days to comply with that, 5 business days.
All right.
Okay.
Shall I read it back?
Nope. I think you've got it.
Okay.
If
I
you
do.
need, you can go back to the record recording. All right. Okay. I think we're ready for the next item. Thank you, Mr. Chen. Everyone else for attending. Appreciate your input. And members of the Veterans Affairs Commission. Thank you.
Item number 3, adoption of the minutes of the January 11, 2022 Education Outreach and Training Committee meeting. I have a copy of the minutes.
I think it was just member Wolf and I that were at this meeting, so I don't think the other members online were there. And it looks pretty good, Cheryl. The only thing I'm having an issue with is item 8.
Hang on, I'll get right there.
Okay, that's page 5, I guess.
Yes, item 8, announcements.
Right.
Comments, questions.
Yes. So my comment is correct. Jared Hines suggests the original records request be included on the index cover page for each complaint. That's great. The paragraph above it. Yeah, that doesn't make much sense grammatically or otherwise. I went back and listened to the recording. What he was talking about was Project Catalytic, and getting affirmation from respondents that multiple violations have taken place, and that's what we're using for. So I would go back and listen to the tape and maybe put something to the effect of Member Wolf discussed Project Catalytic and thoughts of moving it forward or launching it more formally, something along those lines. That I believe was what the discussion was about. Because what's written there is not clear to me, and I was in the meeting. So I would go back, listen to that 5-minute segment, and put a more meaningful summary in there, if you would, please. Yeah.
I'll take care of that tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
So do we have to take a vote on a motion on the minutes?
Sure. So I'll make a motion to approve with those edits.
And this is Member Padmanabhan. I second it.
All right. And we'll take some public comment on that motion.
Do you want to approve the minutes, or do you want to approve the minutes next month?
Actually, you know what? Let's push it back a month. Yeah, let's see what you come up with and do that. So yeah, let's continue the minutes. So I'm going to rephrase the motion. I'm going to continue the minutes to the next meeting. That's my motion.
And I accept that.
All right. And when you're ready, Ms. Leger, we'll take some public comment on continuing the minutes.
3 minutes or 2 minutes, Chair Hyland?
2 minutes. We're going to keep it consistent for this meeting.
Okay. Do we have public commenters on the motion to approve the minutes?
To continue the minutes?
Continue the minutes, yes. Public comment for a continuation of the minutes to next month. Do we have any public speakers?
Please press *6 if you'd like to speak at this point. All right. Public comment on the continuation minutes is now closed. Please take a roll.
Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Member Yankee?
Aye.
Member Yankee, aye. Moved by Chair Hyland, seconded by Member Padmanabhan to continue the minutes to the next EOT, Education, Outreach, and Training Committee meeting.
Thank you.
Using my paperwork together. Next item, Chair Hyland.
Yes, please.
Item number 4, public comment. Members of the public may address the Education, Outreach, and Training Committee on matters that are within the committee's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda.
Do you have any members of the public who'd like to make general public comment? If so, please hit *6 and give your name to Ms. Leger.
Leadership Hillier.
Okay, Mr. Hillier, we heard you. Is there anybody else? Does anyone else like to make public comment? Please hit *6. All right, not hearing anybody else. Ms. Leger, please let Mr. Hillier know when you're ready. And consistent with the rest of this meeting, that'll be a 2-minute public comment, Mr. Hillier.
Mr. Hillier, ready to begin speaking?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Committee members, in November, the Behavioral Health Commission had a meeting, and they did not post notice of the meeting at the public library at the government documents desk. And I kept checking it. I happened to be there every day for the several days leading up to that meeting. It was a Wednesday meeting, and so I started checking on Friday. And the thing that I noticed was that while the Behavioral Health Commission's notice never showed up there, other bodies were continually submitting notices for the same date, November 17th, as every day that I checked. Every day that I checked, there were more notices than there were the day before. They all should have been posted by Sunday evening, but they kept coming in until the very last day. And so as part of education, outreach, and training, you might network with them because they timestamp things when they come in, or at least date stamp them, and they can look on each day and see who published their notice on time and who published it late. And you might inform the people who are publishing it late that it is late and it's in violation of the law. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hillier. Is there anybody else who'd like to make general public comments? Please hit *6 and unmute yourselves. All right, this is last call for general public comment. All right, general public comment is now closed. Mr. Leger, when you're ready, please announce the next item.
Item number 5, file number 22012, complaint filed by Anonymous against Director Greg Colfax and the Department of Public Health for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6721 by failing to respond to a public records request in a timely and or complete manner.
All right, do we have both parties here? Please hit *6 to announce yourselves.
Anonymous is here.
Great. Mr. Colfax, are you here with us? Or a representative of DPH? Standing
yes,
in.
Sophie Tran. Sorry, Sophie Tran here on the behalf of San Francisco Department of Public Health.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ms. Tran. All right, both parties are here. Ms. Leger, when you're ready, Anonymous, you can let Anonymous know that he can start talking.
He has 5 minutes. Anonymous, you have 5 minutes to speak. Are you ready to begin?
I am.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. This is Anonymous number 3. This was one of my standard requests made to a number of different agencies. I made it using NextQuest without creating an account, without signing in anything. I just put in my email address. I wrote a request to multiple agencies. The other agencies basically did the right thing. They felt like making a separate copy of the request. They kept it public. They started responding on a rolling basis, which is what the law requires them to do. DPH, for some reason, took what was a public request that I originally filed, turned it into a closed request that would require me to sign in, and bizarrely sent me a response on this new request that they created where I couldn't figure out what the request was. In fact, SOTF couldn't initially either. And that's because they took what I had filed as an open public request and made a closed request out of it. I don't know if it's this committee, but 2 years ago, DPH did the same thing. For whatever reason, I've been able to persuade most of the city agencies to stop doing this. DPH still prefers doing things this way. DPH also claimed somewhere in there that I have to identify who the people are in DPH who speak to these people in the mayor's office. Unfortunately, I can't do that, and the law doesn't require me to do so. I'm asking for communication between this agency and specified people in the mayor's office. Of course, if I knew who those people were, we wouldn't be in this problem, because the other parties that I'm asking for, the people in the mayor's office and in the Department of Emergency Management, they delete all their communications. So I don't know who the people in DPH are communicating with them. I'm not required to know who they are. It is the responsibility of an agency to know which of their employees have custody of the appropriate records. It's not my responsibility to know that. And I'm not sure why DPH doesn't do things the way other agencies do. The way you should properly handle this request is, and I can show examples of other agencies do it, is you send an email to your all employees mailing list saying, hey, we received this records request. Go look for your own personal records for this. 99.95% of your employees are never going to speak to the mayor or her higher up people, and a few of them will respond and give you the records, and those are from their personal texts. And for the rest of the records, you conduct a back-end search through your IT search. This task force has directed other agencies to do the same thing in the past. I'm not sure why DPH resists doing these kinds of things. I have a theory, which is if you conduct searches using automated systems, you will find more records. And if you just leave it to people to, if they feel like it, produce records, you will find fewer records. Now, while it is the case that under the City of San Jose case, if the records are on your personal employee property, like your personally owned phone, then the city can't go and search those itself. However, for things like SF.gov email or Microsoft Teams or anything else that's owned by the city, they should just issue an IT search and produce the records on a rolling basis. I have offered them that if they commit that they will stop doing closed next request requests and sign a letter, and as I ask other agencies to do, actually change their process, I can withdraw either the full complaint if they actually produce the rest of the rolling response, or that part of the complaint. As far as I know, they were not willing to change their process. And that's where we are. So there's really two unrelated issues, but they're both in the same complaint. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anonymous. Anyone would like to speak on behalf of the petitioner? Please unmute your microphones. Hearing none, Ms. Leger, please let Ms. Tran know when you're ready.
Ms. Tran, are you ready to begin?
Yes.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I'm Sophie Tran here on the behalf of San Francisco Department of Public Health as the interim custodian of record. I would like to walk you guys through the timeline of events and action taken by DPH to show that DPH have been responsive and addressed this request in a timely manner. On February 15, 2022, a requester opened a request in request 22-1047 after close of business hours and assigned it to the following city departments: Public Health, Public Works, Public Utility Commission, Controller, Animal Care and Control, Library, Department of Technology, Department of Building Inspection. On February 16, a staff person at next request messaged all of the city departments included in the February 15 request and instructed them to copy and paste the text of the request into the individual next request cases so that each department could respond individually as follows. This is an internal message only. Please remove your department from this request and create one of your own department only. Our policy indicates that each city department receives search and responds to public requests on the behalf of its own department, not citywide. DPH subsequently created a case 221056 and added an external message to the requester indicating that it would be treated as a standard public request. On February 17, DPH sent an external message to the requester asking if they would be willing to narrow their request. DPH paused the request to allow time for the requester to respond, which they did not. February 22nd, within 1 week of opening the request, the requester emailed and complained to the Sunshine Task Force, alleging DPH had failed to respond in a timely manner and complete. They also alleged DPH had hidden the request in next request despite the fact that the requester opened the request index request on their own volition. They also allege that DPH refused to respond to the request unless they narrow it, which is false and has never been intimidated by DPH. DPH has 10 business days to respond and did respond within a week of receiving the request. On February 23, DPH sent the following response to the complaint and soft via email. DPH also sent a direct email attaching the PDF to both the requester personal email and into the next request, inviting them once again to clarify their request. On February 28th, none of DPH communication to the requester, both in next request and direct via email, has been acknowledged or responded to in any way. March 1st, case 22-1056 was resumed in next request, and DPH began to upload responsive records within the writing notice that we would continue to review and produce additional responsive record on a rolling basis. The records uploaded to next request are publicly visible. March 3rd, DPH distributed a department-wide email to all of its 9,000 employees soliciting them to produce any records that are responsive to the case. DPH Sunshine team continue to receive, review, and produce this record on a rolling basis. As of today, we have provided 6 responsive records that has been identified and made available to the requester. Thank you for the opportunity to respond to this filing.
Thank you, Ms. Tran. Is there anybody here in support of the respondent? If so, please hit *6. Hearing none, the matter is before you, members. I have a quick question for Ms. Tran. Is there any reason that the person who fielded this request is not here? Michaela Varisto? It would have been helpful to have he or she here.
I can try to respond to the question that you have for her. I work very closely to her and touch base with her daily.
All right, Ms. Trent. And what is your title at DPH?
I'm actually the interim custodian of records for DPH.
Okay. Who was the previous custodian?
The previous custodian, we've been sort of through roller coaster since COVID, where 2 previous custodians had left DPH.
And
I'm not familiar with them, and I came in time where they asked me to help this department.
All right. Are we talking Veronica Vienne?
Veronica Vienne was one of them, yes.
Okay. All right. So we're back in this imbroglio. I know your department has had a lot of turnover. I think there was another lady before you. I'm forgetting her name.
Well, may I interrupt you, Chair Hyland?
Yeah.
So Cheryl, yeah. Before Sophie Tran, there was also Christina Padilla, and I was told that Ms. Hawks was also one of the custodian of record, and so you are the go-to. I need to know this for whatever records or emails that I have to send you, Ms. Tran. Is there nobody else?
You can email the Sunshine email.
No. I need to speak with a custodian of record about a case. I need to know.
Sure. About this case, you can still put Michaela and myself on it.
Okay.
No, she's talking about another case, but this is a problem with DPH, and I think as a body we need to reach out to department head who is identified in this and say, hey, this area you've got holes in. You need to have someone really be there for to handle your records request, because I don't know how many cases we've had, and this keeps coming up, and every time we think we get somewhere with the then interim custodian records, voila, there's another one. So this is starting to become an issue for you guys. So just so you know,
I can tell you that I will be the interim custodian of record until they can fill up the position with a permanent staff member.
Yeah, that doesn't help much. I mean, I appreciate you jumping in, Ms. Tran, but
Sure.
In 2 months from now, we're going to deal with a completely new person, potentially, and that's getting a little frustrating for our task force. Anyway, be that as it may. Members, any thoughts, comments?
Sure, this is Member Yankee. I have a quick question here for Ms. Tran. It seems a little unclear from the initial response that that you had provided to Anonymous that you were going to provide these records on a rolling basis. It seems that the idea to provide them on a rolling basis only came up after Anonymous filed a complaint with the task force. And so I guess my question is, why was that offer to provide records on a rolling basis, even though you asked him for clarification, he's or a narrowing, he's under no obligation to do so. So why wasn't that the offer to provide rolling records made at the outset?
So usually when we have a large request like this, we always ask requester if they could kindly narrow the request. If they refuse or we do not receive any response, we start to pull what we have and start sending them on a rolling basis. It just happened that the requester has submitted complaints with the task force before the due date.
Okay, so it was not your intention to close, or
we did not close the next request.
Did not respond to you?
No, we did not intentionally release the record just at that time, and we did not close any of the requests. We did pend it while we were requesting the requester for more information.
Okay, and then to date, how many records have you turned over?
6.
6 records? Okay. Thank you.
That's correct. Yes.
And one more question. Have you contacted the IT department as yet?
Yes, we have. And we have also sent a citywide email to all staff to see if they have any responsive record as well.
And do you know what exactly happened to turn that next request into a closed one?
You would have to actually close the case and tell the requester that we did not find any documents, or that we have submitted all the documents found. So because we're still providing documents to the requester, there's no way that the request is actually closed.
But the requester could not log in to the request. So something must have changed.
We did not change anything. Just like the other departments in next request, we all open our own request for the requester, and he is able to access it as needed. And also additionally, to help the requester, we also have emailed all the responsive records to him as well through the personal email.
Let me jump in. I think you're missing what Member Padmanabhan is saying. This was an open next request. Exactly. Yes, it's a mouthful.
Yes.
And as an anonymous requester, right? So, and it should stay that way, so that it's in the public domain. It seems like maybe Michaela or someone else recast us as an individual and invited Anonymous 3 to log in individually and go that route. Well, that's not what he wanted. He wanted this to be in the public domain, as an academic exercise, if you like.
I actually see the request right now in front of me, and it is made the same way as the requester have originally requested with all these different departments. Nothing has changed. We've used the same information that he has provided. There is no need for him to sign in whatsoever to actually access the next request.
I'm going to throw that over to Anonymous 3. Maybe you can more clearly explain to Ms. Tran the mechanics of what you're referring to, so that going forward, DPH can handle an open request as an open request. Anonymous
Certainly.
3, over to you. All right.
Yeah. So, and this may be because the person who is actually doing it maybe is not the person speaking, and it's in the back and forth of threads. For some reason, not all the threads, even though SOTF was CC'd on them, they're not all in the packet. But so what happened is I filed, and Next Request allows you to do this, is I filed a request with multiple agencies with just my email address. And doesn't make me agree to anything, doesn't make me sign in, doesn't make me create a password, nothing. And then each agency split my request number, which I was given one request number, into another request for their agency. The other agencies all kept those requests public because I had filed it publicly. I had never agreed to any terms or anything like that, and so the city can't make me. But DPH, for reasons I don't know, when they made their kind of per agency copy of that request, they did not make it public. And so when they respond to me on that request, I actually don't even know what they're responding to. It doesn't tell me which request it's about. That's why in the original complaint I filed, I didn't even know what request they were responding to. And so it's not about whether a request is closed or open. That's one attribute. That's when they claim a request is complete, maybe is the right word. It's whether the request is private or public. And so they need to make their request public. And they did later on after discussion with me and other stuff like that. But I have told them this now multiple times. It's in my original request. Do not make this request or the record's hidden behind any form of sign-in. And that's what they need to do. When they take one of these requests, and if it's been filed by email or it's been filed on Next Request publicly, they need to keep it a public request.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Tran, did that make more sense going forward?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I think this is more of an educational exercise for DPH, and I believe Anonymous 3 said he's given examples of how other departments handle this. Is that in our package, Anonymous 3, or is that information? Have you sent them I guess examples of how other departments have handled it correctly?
They can look at the other split off requests off of that original request, the other agencies, how they split it off. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure. Well, actually, I guess if it's still in the public domain, they should be able to go in there and look at that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Okay, members. This certainly looks like it's within our jurisdiction. Is there any packaging or questions that you have before we go to rebuttals to send this up to the full task force? I see heads shaking left to right. Of course, where you're from, Jaya, that doesn't necessarily mean no, since I lived in your country for some years. Anyway, all right, let's go to rebuttals. Ms. Tran, you have up to 3 minutes to give us any rebuttals or conclusions that you'd like us to consider.
Yes, I just wanted to mention again that DPH did respond in a timely manner, and it's just that we did not have any communication with the requester, which sort of put the request, set back a little bit.
Okay.
And we're still currently, looking for responsive records.
Good. So you're still providing a rolling basis. That's great.
That's correct.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Tran. Anonymous 3, like what?
Yes. Is the timer started, or should I just go?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So I think with the next request side, I think we've clarified that their own oral and written testimony tells you how they violated the law with regards to the narrowing issue. They claim they weren't refusing to respond to my request. Now, their wording suggests that somehow I've made some sort of unlawful request when they claim that I had not identified a record or overly broad. But that in and of itself is ambiguous. They told you how they violated the law when they said they ask first and don't do a search unless they get that confirmation or there's no response back. And the written testimony tells you they paused the request until I respond. I have shown you at the full task force the training slides from the city lawyers that says they can't do that. Instead, what they're supposed to do is start the search as soon as you receive a request. If I happen to narrow it, they are obviously allowed to then provide me fewer records. But what they can't do is not start on my request unless I narrow it, or until I tell them that I'm not narrowing it or anything like that. And that's important, especially when records deletion happens, right? The law is that once you receive a records request, you have to preserve the records. And how do you preserve them unless you search for them when I make the request? And as far as I'm concerned, that's the reason I make these requests, is to preserve these records. Because these records, as I can either show you here or another complaint, they get automatically destroyed, especially when they're chat records. And so if you don't conduct the search, you don't issue the IT ticket, etc., at the time you receive the request, they will unlawfully have destroyed records at around 30 or 45 days before the request was made, until the gap of when they decided, well, he didn't respond, so I'm going to start searching now. So that is not legal. I've shown you those slides at the full SOTS before. You have to start your search immediately, and if the person narrows it, that's fine. But you cannot pause the request until narrowing occurs or doesn't occur. That's it. Thank you very much.
Very good. Nice summary. Thank you. Members, what's your pleasure?
I can go ahead and make a motion. I move to find the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force has jurisdiction and the requested records are public, and to refer the matter to the SOTF for hearing with the recommendations that that we find a violation of 67.21B, I believe.
This is Member Yankee. I will second that.
All right. Let's have some public comment on that motion, please.
Yeah, just a second. And Member Yankee, you were going to second?
That's correct.
And public comment is 2 minutes, Chair Hyland?
Yes, that's correct. That is for the rest of the meeting, Cheryl. You don't need to ask me that again.
All right. Do we have public commenters on the motion?
Mr. Hillier, are you there?
Jeez, Chris.
Well, you know, star six.
What?
Anybody?
What do I have to comment on everything or something? What?
Well, we want to make sure that you have the opportunity. Is all. That's all. No.
I have no comment.
All right. All right. Very good. Anybody else? Public comment on the motion. Hearing none. Public comment is closed. Please call the roll.
Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Member Yankee?
Aye.
Member Yankee, aye. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Moved by Member Padmanabhan, second by Member Yankee, to find jurisdiction that the records are public and to forward to the task force with a recommendation to find a violation of 6721B for not providing records on a timely manner.
All right. And then Cheryl, if you could add this in the staff notes that goes to the full task force. Please note there's been a lot of changes in the custodian of records for DPH over the last 6 months. And also, please make sure that you listen to the tape very carefully. I'd like to get the entirety of Anonymous's rebuttal, as he said it, into the meeting minutes, because I think that's seminal. And I'd like the full task force to start with that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I took notes when Anonymous was speaking during rebuttal.
Great, but please.
You want it verbatim? Is that what you're saying?
That would be nice. I think it was pretty eloquent and detailed, and that really is the crux of the matter here, I think. And I want the full task force to be able to key in on that from the get-go. So, you know, it doesn't have to be verbatim, but please do use that as a guideline when you do the minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, add to staff note. Okay, are we ready for item number 6?
We are.
Item number 6, file number 22013, complaint filed by Yuli Wang against David Steinberg of Public Works for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6721 by failing to respond to a public records request in a timely and complete manner.
All right. Do we have both parties here?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. And who are you? Here? Okay. Sounds like we have both parties.
I assume you can still hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, that's great.
Okay. All right.
This is Yuli Huang.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wang. Hong. Apologies.
Are we ready to begin with statements, Chair Hyland?
Yes, we are.
Mr. Hong, are you ready to begin speaking?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. This is a complaint about the non-compliant response to public record request number 21-6702. The request is about a specific piece of information, the calculation of ship piling installation submitted to DPW for review and approval. DPW did not provide the requested calculation. Instead, DPW provided the project manual, which is distinctly different from the requested calculation. There are 3 points in the following statement. A, the requested calculation was required to be submitted to DPW. As a background, DPW published a request for proposal and a project manual on the Sunset and Parkside Shore and Pavement renovation project on November 13, 2019. Amongst other requirements, the project manual prescribed the submittal to include design, details, and calculation associated with a suitable ship piling installation to minimize vibration and damage to adjacent structures. The requested calculation determined how the contractor will use excavator-mounted pile-driving hammers to install the ship piling into the ground.
It is an essential part of a suitable ship piling installation. Therefore, the contractor should have followed the requirement and submitted the calculation to DPW. We trust that DPW acted in good faith, ensure they receive what they require in the request for proposals, and diligently review the submittal before awarding the contract. Therefore, DPW's statement of no document responsive to the request is groundless. B, the requested calculation is public information. The project has been proceeded, implying the contract has been awarded. The requested calculation was a record of communication between the contractor and DPW. Hence, it must be available for public inspection pursuant to San Francisco Administration Code, Section 67.24, Echo 1. C. DPW has not provided the requested calculation. DPW published the request for proposal and the project manual. The contractor supposedly submitted the requested calculation responding to the request for proposal. Therefore, the project manual was not a valid response to the request of the calculation. In summary, the requested calculation was required to be submitted to DPW for review and approval. It is a piece of public information that DPW is yet to provide. For completeness, project manual section 013545 1.6 Foxtrot, section 013549 1.5 Charlie, section 013550 1.04 Charlie, section 017329 1.5 Bravo, section 312333 1.6 Alpha, and section 312333 2.2 Alpha are referred. This concludes the petition statement.
Thank you, Mr. Hong. Is anybody here in support of the petitioner for this case? Hearing none, Cheryl, please let Mr. Steinberg know when you're ready.
I'm ready. Mr. Steinberg, are you ready to begin?
Sure thing.
Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Chair Highland and committee members. My name is David Steinberg, and I'm custodian of records of San Francisco Public Works. First of all, on the matter of jurisdiction, the department acknowledges that the Sunshine Task Force has jurisdiction over the matter, and that any records that might be considered responsive to Mr. Huang's request would be public. So Mr. Huang submitted 3 records requests related to Public Works project. In addition, multiple Public Works employees have spoken with him to address his concerns about this project. In response to the records request, the department has provided to him all records that we have that are responsive, and even one that might not be considered responsive, but that we delivered out of desire to be fully transparent, and that's the project manual that he referred to. In his complaint, he doesn't argue that the department has withheld any records responsive to his December 3rd, 2021 request, which we logged as public records request number 216702. Rather, he is arguing that the department didn't follow its own procedures and that there should have been documents to be released. Mr. Huang's assumptions are incorrect, but that isn't the matter that you're considering. Whether the department should have created documents isn't in the jurisdiction of the task force. The issue before you is whether there are responsive documents, and if there are, whether any were improperly withheld. As we told Mr. Huang, there are no additional records that are responsive to a request, and there's no requirement that we create any. For these reasons, we ask that the committee recommend the task force determine that no violation exists and close this complaint. Ray Louie, who is an engineer with our department's Division of Infrastructure Design and Construction, should also hopefully be on the line, and he can speak to some of the technical aspects related to this request. Specifically, the request asks for a submitted calculation package that determines and supports the choice of hammering parameters, et cetera, et cetera. And Mr. Louie says no such document exists or whatever exists. So that is the end. That is my
presentation.
Presentation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Steinberg. Mr. Liu, would you like to speak at this juncture if you're on the line, or would you like to have us call upon you for specific questions later in the proceedings? Are you on the line? If you are, hit *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, I'm not hearing anything. Maybe he'll jump in later on. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on behalf of the respondent at this juncture? Hearing none, the matter is before you, members.
This is Member Padmanabhan. I'd like to ask the respondent to go over what exactly was submitted. What were the records that were provided?
So the request was for an approval document by the engineer and submitted a calculation package that determines and supports the choice of hammering parameters and hammering operation plan, including precautionary measures. That is what was requested. And as I said, this was the second of 3 requests he submitted. In a previous request, he had asked for the name of the engineer of record and copies of detailed drawings and excavation methods, which we provided to him December 3rd. So again, my understanding, and I hope that Ray is having problems logging in, is when we discussed this, he said there is not such a thing as a submitted calculation page or an approval document by the engineer. And if I recall correctly, basically our the reason
David,
sorry,
David,
yeah.
if I may, this is Raymond Louis. My apologies. My apologies to Commission. I was having technical difficulties pushing buttons and such.
And you're an engineer?
Yes, I am a structural engineer with the Department of Public Works.
Okay, I'm just having a little bit of lighthearted fun since you're having problems with buttons. Don't worry,
right. I have a new
is
phone, and I kind of figured that I was going to have a learning curve on this new phone. So
right, this online forum is not ideal, but anyway, here we are. So okay, so if you want to carry on for Mr. Steinberg, that'd be great.
Sure. For work such as what Mr. Huang is referring to in this particular contract, we typically receive a shoring and a shoring submittal for trench work. This is in this particular case, the contract was for trenching and sewer replacement in the street, and so we did receive that from the contractor. We reviewed that work and we approved that trench methodology. Now, nowhere do we receive information from the contractor on how they install that trenching. I'm sorry, how they install that shoring. Typically that information we don't receive, right? We don't get that. And so therefore we cannot provide it if that's the case.
But did you provide shoring submittal?
Yes, we provided that to Mr. Huang. The shoring submittal included the shoring type as well as calculations presented by the contractor's engineer.
So I'm persuaded by the fact that you don't have to produce documents that you haven't received. But the real, nuts and bolts of the matter is Mr. Hong seems convinced, and it sounds like he's also an engineer or an architect, that those kind of documents should be, and perhaps I'd like to hear, have you had those kind of documents submitted as part of a similar process in the past? Let's start with that.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, Mr. Hong, I'll let you respond to that. Is what you're asking something that you've seen with other DPW projects, and is this conspicuous?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so first, this is not something I just coined. This is the requirement documented in the project manual. I gave the reference number, but if someone is able to search the project manual, they can see what just described. The project manual prescribes the submittal to include design, details, and calculation associated with a suitable ship piling installation. Again, installation, not post-installation calculation. And also requires this calculation to support the effort to minimize vibration and damage to adjacent structure. These are the wording that's exact in the project manual. So talking about if this is a common practice, yes. So let me give you the reference. I don't know what, I haven't reviewed any submittal to DPW particularly, but I'm referring to the publication of a transit noise and vibration impact assessment manual published by Federal Transit Administration. There's also a transportation and construction vibration guidance manual published by California Department of Transportation. So given that this federal agent has published guidance on how to do this calculation, it's a reasonable speculation that this should be a requirement, and let alone that it's already explicitly required in the project manual.
Okay, Mr. Hong, I'm looking at the project menu right now. Can you identify, on our package, it looks like it starts on page 119, 120. Is there a line item in there that refers to this document that you're after?
Well, it's not just a document with specific title. If you give me 1 second, I can search again that document. Is that okay? Or you?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a calculation that should appear on a document, is what you're saying.
Yes. Let me just quickly search that document. I don't want to waste time. I already have all the section number going through that. For example, if you let me actually search that just to make sure it's
yeah, I see bidding forms to be submitted with bid like 004013, etc. So it has I don't know, about a dozen documents to be submitted with the bid. So I'm guessing it's going to be right in there or in the supplements somewhere in there.
I'm opening the document. Sorry for I didn't prepare to have this available, but if let's see.
Mr. Liu, if you're listening in, feel free to jump in and point out. I don't know if you can see our online package, but it seems like a reasonable standard form or calculation for this kind of a project to me. Not an engineer, but I did an extension on my house not too long ago, and I was surprised at how much detail was required. Right. So it doesn't seem like an unreasonable calculation, especially if there's structures nearby. I mean, is there something that you use instead of that, or you just never do that kind of calculation for this project in your experience at DPW?
Well, it's my understanding that we're here today to talk about our responsiveness to Mr. Huang's request, not about the technical merits of vibrations and construction and things like that. So
we're trying to determine.
I'm not prepared to answer that.
Yeah, we're trying to determine whether that such a document exists or normally exists, and if it's something that normally exists, and I think you said earlier that it doesn't for this kind of project, and that's why it's not in the package. Then then that's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of. If it's something
Yeah.
that, yeah, go ahead.
So for the work that I've been involved in, and granted I've not been involved in every single project that Public Works has had, we have not required that the document that, or supposed document that Mr. Huang is requesting for,
Or the calculations.
or those vibration calculations, correct?
Yeah. When do you require vibration calculations?
Typically, when we are working on a site that is near a historic resource, it's actually not vibration calculations, it's actually vibration monitoring. We actually do not require calculations of the contractor, but we do require them to monitor their vibrations to make sure that we don't do some undue harm onto a historic resource.
I see. So nothing pre, but just more like during.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. May I just
Yes, Mr. Hong.
I want to point you to the page that shows exactly this wording. It's in page 381 of the PDF file.
Okay.
It is in part 2, product, and then 2.2, materials for trench support system.
Okay, that page reference. So I think you're referring to something that we can't see, Mr. Hung.
Right.
I did a search on that. So, we have a.
Do you have the full menu page in front of you?
Just the menu cover sheet, yes. That's on page P120. Members, can you see that also?
Right, so I can give you the exact page number, which is in.
Yeah, we have 30 pages in the packet.
Right, that's incomplete. But I just read that literally to you.
Okay.
Okay, the contractor shall propose and submit for approval a suitable installation method which will minimize noise and vibration. This is in the section 2.2 for the trench support system specifically.
Mr. Liu, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm the right person to respond to that because I'm the guy that actually reviews as Mr. Huang said, the in-place trench shoring, not the actual how to get it into the whole review. So I cannot speak to that.
And can I? I'm sorry. This is David Steinberg. What
yes,
is it from the manual? And can you tell me what that page was again?
Yes, it's in page 381 of 460 of the PDF. I don't know what the actual page number is.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's in. Let me give you the section number. Section 3123.332.2 alpha. If you need the whole, this whole clause, is steel sheet piling. It's employed should be of roll, steel, shape, blah 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 blah. Sheet piling should be installed in a manner that interlock, and then the contractor should propose and submit for approval a suitable installation method which will minimize noise and vibration, something like that. So it's explicitly required in the project manual, which is published by DPW.
All right, this is Division 31 Earthwork 312333. So you're reading what that form says. Okay. So was that just left blank?
I can confirm that in the previous response, DPW did provide the calculation to adjust the strength and stiffness of the sheet piling after it's installed in place. And that's why for the second request, I asked for the calculation for the installation rather than the in-place sheet piling.
Okay. Well, it sounds like what I'm hearing, Mr. Hong, is they don't have that, or it wasn't submitted. And whether that's normal or not normal, that's not the purview of our of our commission here, our task force. We can get you documents if they exist. They're saying that document, that calculation doesn't exist on any document. Is that correct, Mr. Steinberg and Mr. Liu? Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
That pre-calculation that he's looking for is not something that was submitted to you by the contractor, or that you required or did yourselves. So that calculation doesn't exist on any document, form, proposal, etc.
That is correct.
Okay, so we can help you get something that they say they have, but if they don't have that, that's as far as we can go.
Well, they said they don't have that, but this is something required by the project manual. Is that adequate to support the request for such document? Say if this is some document that's, say, the bylaw of some group that say they are going to publish, but then later on they said, we didn't do that. So it's still a valid request. And if the response is a project manual, is that a valid response to you?
Okay, so let me turn this back to you, Mr. Steinberg, Mr. Liu. Why was that requirement, as it seems to be in your paperwork and your forms, why was that not collected before this project was enacted on?
All right. I can't speak to that. The way I'm reading it is, and again, I'll defer to Ray because he's the engineer. I'm a former journalist. It says the contractor shall propose and submit for approval a suitable installation method which will minimize noise and vibrations. I am assuming, and again, Ray can speak to it, that when they made the bid, they are talking about an overall process and method, not necessarily specific calculations, which is what was being requested. I mean, do you understand what do you catch my drift?
That makes sense to me. So, not to put words in your mouth, Mr. Liu, but is it standard practice that engineering firms just ignore that and kind of give a general say, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this, and we're going to monitor if we happen to be close to historic structure while we're doing it, but we're not really going to answer your question or your request in the first place. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know exactly what happened on this particular project, right? But for many projects, what happens is that there's field meetings between general contractor and our construction management staff going over what they are planning to do and how they're going to do it. In this particular case, where we are providing shoring, is typically with the sheet piles. There's typically two methods of installing that sheet pile. And one is using a vibratory hammer, and another one is by pushing it down, right? And so, in the course of construction, we leave those methods and means and methods to the contractor. And I'm not sure what kind of documentations there are. We don't ask a contractor if he's going to use a handheld hammer or a pneumatic hammer, right? That's not something we ask a contractor to do when he's nailing a wall. So these means and methods, oftentimes we leave to the contractor to determine and to execute.
Okay. Mr. Hong, it sounds like, yes, it's in the standard request, but it seems like in practice it's not always followed, which may be regular or irregular.
No, I don't think that's sensible. Let me read another clause here, and I will see why I say that's required. Instead of, this is just a general requirement, they don't me to submit calculation for specific items. In this section, I'll give you a section number later on. I think it's 3123331.6 alpha, about excavation and shoring support. The contractor shall provide all engineering, including design, details, calculation, installation, construction of shoring, sheeting, bracing, necessary to support the side of the excavation to prevent movement, which may damage adjacent pavement, utility, or structure, damage or delay the work, or endanger life and health as required by CAL, OSHA, and other applicable governmental regulation and agency. So the keyword here is all engineering calculation, not just like, oh, we're going to do that later. I'm a professional engineer registered in California too.
Okay. So it sounds like you believe that this calculation was done, but maybe it wasn't documented or something was missed. But, they're saying they've gone and they've looked and they've given you everything they have. That particular calculation, they're not finding it. Now, whether that's right or wrong is not for us to rule on. What we can do is help you try and get that calculation on whatever document it exists on. I
agree that if they insist they don't have that, then it's not the responsibility of the task force to help me request that document. But the reason I bring to this task force is make it clear, because there will be a responsibility train later on when I cited that the DPW failed to reveal what they require in the request for proposal, then either the DPW or the contractor will take the responsibility if there is indeed damage to adjacent structure.
Okay.
So I will request that the DPW to clarify or confirm whether the contractor has submitted the specific calculation request by me and required by the project manual.
Okay. So and what they've sent you by email saying they don't have that calculation, that's not enough for you at this point?
No, because they just like nominally closed the request that, well, we did the diligent search, we found no document responsive to that. I want to make it clear that what I'm requesting is the calculation of the strip piling installation. And I want a confirmation in writing that they said they indeed requested this in the project manual, but they have not received that from the contractor.
Okay, very good. So I think based on that, members, we can probably, package this and send it up to the full task force that we have jurisdiction, and that the crux of this matter is about whether this calculation was provided to DBW. In the meantime, perhaps Mr. Steinberg and Mr. Hong can keep talking specifically about that calculation and whether it shows up on another document. But it sounds like Mr. Hong wants to get this in the record, and we can do that at the full task force.
Chair Hiley, can I make a quick comment? Or
yes. Yes, please.
So I'm not sure exactly what sort of confirmation he wants. I mean, I wrote to him on February 16th. When we sent him the project manual, I said, we've located one potentially responsive document after further search after you filed a petition with the supervisor of records. He filed a petition with the supervisor of records asking certain things. Our team still said, we don't really think there's anything responsive based on what the request was, but we sent him the project manual because it did have some information that he might consider useful I'm not sure that it would be considered responsive. That's why I said it's potentially responsive, but in the spirit of openness and transparency, we sent it to them. And in that note, I said, we're releasing this document to you now. Public Works is not withholding any documents responsive to your request. So we've told them we have nothing. You can, if you want something more specific, I can talk to the city attorney and see what they say, but we've said we don't have what you asked for. It does not exist in our possession or control. So as you said, it's a matter of.
Yeah, that seems, because this is, Mr. Hong, this is all in the public domain as it is now. But if you want to have this matter heard before the full task force, they're probably going to reach the same conclusion. But at least it will, now, if there had been other violations here, like timeliness or whatnot, they might, the full task force might find a violation there. And I'm looking through, I don't think you provided, maybe you did provide a timeline, but I'm not sure there's any other violation here other than, you think this calculation exists, and they say we don't have it, we have nothing that calculation exists on.
I don't think that could be any violation because they just wait for 5 days and say they found nothing. It's easy to say that. What I'm requesting is DPW put it in writing that they did request this calculation as required by the project manual, but they had not received that from the contractor. So if they can make it clear, then I think they have done their due diligence here. Not just like verbally, I need something in writing. I don't mind to bring this to the full task force, but please understand that there's no other channel that I want to find this calculation. DPW is not very responsive, other than this next request and responding to this the Sunshine Task Force.
Mm-hmm. And members, I'm looking at the original complaint, and it is for section 6721, failing to respond in a timely and or complete manner. I don't think the full task force can rule on the completeness of this. I don't know if there's any timeliness issues here in the timeline.
Sir Howland, if you want, I can give you the timeline of what happened. It's published on Next Request if you want to look there. But he submitted the request on December 3rd. I acknowledged it on that same day. On the 9th, I initially wrote and said, we have no documents responsive to your request. He filed a petition with the supervisor of records. We heard from the city attorney. We went back and forth with the engineering department, and they said, well, why don't you deliver to him the project manual, section of the project manual, which I did on February 16th.
And that project manual, is that just the generic project manual, or is it the one specific to this project?
That is the one specific to this project. That is the one that he was quoting from
Okay.
Sunset and Streets pavement.
Okay. And that manual is everything that would be requested for this particular project, or does it also include all the documents that you have on record in response to that manual?
It's the second volume of the project manual. I can't answer that question. I can't believe it's everything we would have on the project, but we looked for everything, and I talked to the engineers, and again, as Ray said, the thing that he actually asked for doesn't exist. But we still get the project manual just because if someone could argue that maybe there's something in there, so we wanted to make sure he had everything. But I acknowledged the request the same day it came in, gave him an answer 6 days later, and then yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, members. Thoughts? I see Member Yankee.
Yeah, I think we're kind of gone round and round on this one. I think we're kind of at the spot that you kind of summarized, where it might be that DPW should have documents, but I don't think it's really in our purview to try to, or even in our jurisdiction to go through what the contract or the bid packet says and to see if DPW was given the records that supposedly they should have based on what was in there. I think all that we can do at this point is say, do the records exist in DPW's possession? And I mean, obviously we do have jurisdiction. I think, if the records existed, they would be public. So I think it's, we can certainly send this on to the full task force. But I'm not sure that there's much more in our venue that we can do to help the complainant get what he's looking for, because it sounds like that's just not something DPW has for reasons outside of our control. So.
Member Padmanabhan, any thoughts? I'll just jump in. I'm basically on the same page, and I, of the two sections cited, 6721, timeliness and completeness, I don't see a violation on either. So I'm actually inclined not to send it up to the full task force, because I know we're kind of getting into the merits of the case now, but maybe we send it up with a recommendation of no violation. But Mr. Huang, I would, it sounds like you've made some successful, inquiries of Mr. Steinberg, and he is a responsive custodian of records. We've worked with him before. I would recommend you maybe, phrase your request more specifically and ask for those actual project documents where you think this calculation might be, rather than just asking them to find that calculation on documents and say, I want sections, 311 all the way through this on a rolling basis. And that way you have in your hands the manual and the errors and omissions right there where they did not complete the full checklist of this project. And hopefully that's good enough for what you need. That would be my recommendation.
May I clarify a few items?
Sure. I'm gonna let you guys both rebut. Mr. Steinberg first, and then yourself, and then we're gonna rule on this.
No, it's not a rebuttal. It's just like
when
I submit a complaint.
One second, Mr. Hong. 1 second. Member Padmanabhan wanted to say something as well. Go ahead.
While I believe that there is no violation in 67.21, I'm looking at the petitioner mentioned 67.24(1)(e), which is about contracts and contractors' bids. Exactly. I don't know if we can make a case there, but I do believe that if at all we send it up, maybe that's the section to look at particularly. But again, if the records do not exist at this point, I don't see how we can send it up.
Exactly. I'd almost rather have Mr. Hong get a hold of the actual contracts and bids and proposals, and then.
Yeah. Well, may I clarify a few things?
Yes, you may clarify.
It's not rebuttal.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Hong.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And when I submitted the complaint, I didn't indicate which section of the violation. And later on, I go through the laws. And as I just stated, I'm citing section 67.24 Echo 1. That is communication between contractor and the department.
Yes, I can see that here. And that is
okay. And second, I do appreciate that it's not clear that whether this task force has jurisdiction to judge the completeness of the responsive document.
Right.
But the reason I brought this up here is because there's no other channel. I talked to the city supervisor. They refer me to this task if you can give me advice. Any other government agency could look into this and provide some justice, and even just like a third-party review. That's much appreciated. And lastly, I have been very specific about my request. I sent 3 requests, and the first one, and basically 3 of them are in the same line. I'm requesting the calculation of the ship power installation. For the first one, what DPW provided is a calculation. There's a calculation of the piling after it's installed. So I filed the second one, which I got no response. No response document other than the project manual. I filed the third one, make it even more specific, and that was also closed. And David was saying that please refer to the 2 previous requests. That means they closed the door. So just from a civilian perspective, I don't know all the protocols in the government, what would be the best vehicle to get this document. So if you want to give me advice or some other help, that's great.
Well, let me ask you this. Looking at 6724 Echo 1, do you have the full contract? You know, the full
submittal.
Yeah, the full submittal and to the awardee. Do you have that in front of you?
No, I haven't received any of them.
Okay, that's something you can request, and they're required to provide that to you.
So you're maybe that all record of communication between the contractor and the department for this project is what I'm supposed to request, right?
I would say, yeah, I would get the whole document on a rolling basis. Then you can go through the different sections and you can find that calculation or the absence of it. I think that's your best. So I think you should create yet another request, a 4th request, asking, you know, for that entirety of that awarded RFP. And Mr. Steinberg, would you be willing to provide that to him on a rolling basis, and maybe give him the section he wants first? You know, the shoring and the earthwork section. That's really what he's after. Maybe he doesn't need the rest, but give him everything you have, rather than volume 2 only.
We'd certainly be able to. I mean, we get requests for that sort of stuff all the time. The bids, the RFPs, you know, everything related to a project, communications related to the project.
Right.
That's, you know, it may take a while depending on how big the project is, but we could certainly get it to them.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's a place to start, because, you know, he's an engineer. He knows what he's looking for. So that way he can go in there and he might find it. Or if he doesn't find it, he has everything that he needs to, you know, to show that it wasn't done. Would that be satisfactory, Mr. Hong?
Well, I don't think I'm going to find. I can find it because I have previous conversation with Mr. Lu, and he verbally confirmed to me that there's no such calculation. They don't do this calculation. And what surprised me is as an engineer, and the protection of public safety is paramount. And I'm surprised that even though DPW put this in writing in the request for proposal, they don't mean to receive that. They don't mean to review that. So again, I don't know what other thing I can request. Can I request what I asked them to do? I asked that if they can confirm in writing that they request this information, they didn't receive that. Is this something I can also request in the next request platform?
Right. Again, we can help you get what they have. So if you want to do another request and get that specific information, you know, we can help enforce that down the road if they don't send it. But it sounds like Mr. Steinberg has been responsive and will continue to send you what you want on a reasonably rolling basis. Okay, let's do.
No, I'm talking about in addition to the communication between contractor and DPW. Can I request a written confirmation from DPW saying that they requested this information, they didn't receive that?
No, you can't do that. But what you can do is you can request all communications between DPW and the contractor that was awarded the program, and you can do a search on that and ask them to look for certain keywords in specific emails about those calculations, and then you can see in there whether it was whether anything was there or not. But we can't compel them to write something that is not already in their records. That we cannot do.
So if say I'm going to file a damage and I need evidence to support that, where can I quote that DPW said they requested information, they didn't receive that?
Yeah, well, not to give you any legal advice, but you can just have the full contracts in front of you and just show that they don't exist, and that was
no, but what they don't exist is not something in writing, right?
We can't compel them to write something or create something that makes a statement either way. No, we can just get what they already have. But we're running a little bit late on this one, so I'm going to give you quick time to do rebuttals. Mr. Steinberg, if you can go first. Cheryl, 3 minutes. Thank you.
Sure. Actually, Ray, did you want to chime in with something?
Sure. Yeah, I want to make a point of clarification. The specifications that Mr. Huang is referring to asks that the contractor provide the process or the means and methods of the installation of the shoring. Nowhere does it ask the contractor to provide calculations, specifically vibration calculations, which is what Mr. Huang has been asking for this entire time. Those calculations do not exist. And the point of the matter is those calculations can never be generated because there is no mathematical equation that will satisfy what he's asking for. In other words, we're always looking for empirical data, which is basically the vibrations of machines, the vibrations that are being felt. There is actually no calculation that could be generated that can tell you that the vibration caused by the machine propagating through the earth and hitting someone's house is impossible. That equation does not exist. And Mr. Huang knows that, by the way.
Okay, very good. Anything else to add, Mr. Steinberg, to the rebuttals?
Yeah, I would just say, I appreciate the time. Again, I believe you understand the situation. He's arguing that the department didn't follow its own procedures, and there should be documents. But as you said, that isn't the jurisdiction of the task force. We gave him what we have, and even one that I would argue isn't necessarily responsive, but we gave it to him anyway because we thought it might be helpful. I think you're on the right track. If he wants to see communications between the contractor and the department, and if that would help him understand the process, then we can certainly pull those for him. And I'm happy to, anything we have, they're public documents. Anyone can get them. It may take me a little while to get them to you, but we'll give him whatever he asks for if that would help. But we can't create something that doesn't exist. So okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I think that's reasonable. Okay, Mr. Hong, you have a chance to rebut.
I disagree with what they just said. There is calculation as outlined by FTA, Federal Transit Administration, and Caltrain to do this vibration calculation. There is acceptance criteria document in those manuals. So what they said is not true. I disagree with that. I reiterate that the requested calculation was required to be submitted by DPW for review and approval. If they just ignore this requirement, they didn't review that document, that implies a bigger problem. So I reiterate that what I'm requesting is a piece of public information that DPW should and have not provided. Again, pursuant to San Francisco Administration Code Section 67.24 Echo 1.
Okay, thank you. Members, how would you like to proceed with this item?
This is Member Yankee. I think we need to. I don't think we can close the file at this level unless it's something like they didn't show up. So I think that is where it needs to go. Although I absolutely agree with what you said before, Chair Hyland. I don't see a violation here. I think that the complainant can certainly and may do him well to request all the information that he's entitled to under that was it 6724 E1. But in this case, I don't think there's a document that's out there that can be turned over that he requested in the file that's before us. So I guess I'll go ahead and make a motion that we find jurisdiction, find that the records would be public, and refer to the full task force for a hearing with the recommendation of a finding of no violation.
I second that.
Okay. Very good. Let's have a little public comment on that, please, Ms. Leger.
Second.
Anonymous number 3 when you get a chance.
Hang on, please.
He's just giving you his name, Cheryl. Yes, we heard that. Thank you, Anonymous. Anybody else like to make public comment? Hit star 6. Mr. Hillier. Got it. Okay. Anyone else on the list? Okay, let's start with Mr. Anonymous, or just Anonymous, once Ms. Leger gives you the go-ahead.
So for public commenters, I have anonymous number 3 and Winship Hillier. Go ahead, Anonymous.
Thank you very much. This is anonymous number 3. I think there's one thing that's missing from this conversation, and that is if the contractor at the time the request was made had a contract with the city, and I'm not sure if when you're using the word contractor, it's like a company or another agency that has a contract with the city, or like a general contractor, subcontractor, that kind of thing. But if there's some money or something being exchanged between the city and this other entity, whatever it is, then the Community Youth Athletic Center, or as is done here, the John Hooper standard applies, which is that if the manual or whatever rules say this document should have existed and should have been turned over, even if it wasn't turned over originally, the city has an obligation to look for records in its constructive possession, not in its actual possession. And constructive possession means they are required to communicate with their contractor, ask the contractor if these records exist. It's entirely possible the contractor will come back and say, no, we didn't give you the records. We also never made them and we don't have them. But that part has to happen if there was a contract with the city, with whoever it is. So again, I don't know if this is a contract in the sense of like a private entity was doing something and they were just getting approval from the city, or this is some entity working with the city. If they were working with the city needs to go to its known custodians, which includes private contractors, to ask that contractor whether the records requested exist and turn them over if the city has a contractual interest in that information. It would appear that the complainant has shown that there is a contractual interest in that information. The fact of whether they followed the rules originally by producing that at the time of the original bid or whatever is irrelevant. If it's in the possession of the city's private contractors, the city at least has to ask the contractor. And then you can sunshine that communication, and then the complainant would have the proof they need. So, what? Sorry, what? Okay.
Mr. Hillier, are you ready? Star 6 to unmute yourself, sir.
Sorry, I'm ready.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'm timing myself. I don't need a warning. This case is a little bit weird because there's a third party involved, but I would like to mention that in the case, there are a bunch of different cases where you can request a document. One is where, and they can say they don't have it. One is where you don't know whether it exists and you just make the request and see if you get anything back. The other is where you know that they have the document, and then if they say they don't have it, then there's a problem. It's got to be worked out. But the third case is where regulations or professional practice says that they should have a document, and you request it and they say they don't have it. I don't think the story ends there. I think, first of all, Evidence Code Section 664 says as follows, and I quote, "It is presumed that official duty has been regularly performed, ... end quote. The public is entitled to a presumption that documents exist where they're supposed to exist, where regulations require them and so forth. And if they don't exist in that situation, I think you can go a little bit farther than just requiring the agency to say, no, they don't exist, case closed. I think the agency should be required to give some sort of account of why they don't exist. They have to rebut the presumption. They have to either admit that they didn't follow their own regulations or somehow account for the fact that the document wasn't there. Both of those things would be of value to most requesters. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Honey, can you put Ryder on your side? All right, any other public comment? Hearing none. Public comment is closed. And I think there's some good advice there.
Yeah, this is, remember, yeah, if I may, I would just want to amend my motion to also include a request that DPW request the calculations from the contractor prior to or within, we'll say within 5 days, and report back to the task force on those findings when this matter is scheduled before the full task force.
And to the petitioner.
And yeah, of course, and to the petitioner within the 5 days, of course, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Can I accept that amendment?
Okay. And you can cite 6724E1 there if you'd like, Cheryl, pursuant to. 6724E1.
And I would just ask, Mr. Steinberg, is that clear what we're asking you to do?
I was actually just going to ask, can you please tell me exactly what it is that you
So, it sounds like, is it correct that this is like a bid for a project and that the city's spending money on some type of contractor for this work to be performed?
I believe so. Ray could verify that, but I believe the contract has been closed.
Okay. So what we're asking is, can you go to the contractor and ask them, essentially turn over the request that the complainant made to you and see if they have that? So I would ask them, do you have a submitted calculation package that determines and supports the choice of hammering parameters and hammering operation, including precautionary measures, and see if they have that information to turn over to you, that then you can in turn turn over to the petitioner. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I would give them the usual boilerplate, which is, if you have it, you have to give it to me. If it doesn't exist, you don't have to create it. If it's been asked for, you can't delete it. I mean, those are standard what I basically tell everyone when I ask them for things like that.
Right. This would be essentially if the document exists but isn't in DPW's possession, but for some reason is in the contractor's possession.
Right. So if they have it, I will ask for whatever the language is, and the exact language in the request, and I will make it clear that they don't, that if it doesn't exist, I need to know that they don't have to create it. Okay. I can do that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. You take a roll on that, Cheryl. You have a chance.
All right. Second was Jaya, correct? Yeah. Padmanabhan? Yes. Okay. So moved by member Yankee, seconded by member Padmanabhan, to amend their original motion to find jurisdiction if the records are public and to forfeit the task force and request they find a violation of 6720.
No. Stop. Request a finding of no violation. However, request that the DPW ask the contractor for the information requested as pursuant to 6724. I think that was what E1. Within 5 days. And then to report back to the petitioner and the full task force when that matter comes for a hearing.
Okay. Let's try this again. Moved by Member Yankee, seconded by Member Padmanabhan to amend their original motion to find jurisdiction that the records are public and forward to the task force with a recommendation to find no violation, but request that DPW ask the contractor for the information requested pursuant to section 6724E1 and report those findings to the petitioner and the committee within the next 5 business days.
Yep, got it.
Sorry, I'm just being an editor here. I have to ask for it within 5 days, not provide it within 5 days.
You have to provide it within 5 days.
I have to well, I can ask for it. I can't guarantee how soon they're going to respond.
That's
you said in time for the task force meeting.
Well, yeah. So
I'll certainly ask for it tomorrow.
Okay.
If I can get.
That's good enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we want to take a vote?
Please.
Member Yankee?
Aye.
Member Yankee, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Can I make a request, Chair Hyland, that we take a 10-minute break before we do the last case?
Let's make it 5 minutes. I have a hard stop at 9 o'clock. So
I can take over. Go ahead and take your break, Cheryl. I can take over.
Okay, perfect. Is that okay, members? Just we've got one item left. You guys okay to carry on? Okay, great. Okay. All right. Thank you, Victor.
So give me one moment to get myself set up. Next on the agenda is item number 7. Excuse me. Hearing to review and possibly consolidate and possible consolidation of complaints filed by Winship Hillier against the Behavioral Health Commission. File numbers are listed in the agenda.
All right. I've heard that Mr. Hillier is here. Is Mr. Greer here? Or someone representing the BHC? Hit star 6.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Everybody hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
we can.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, we have this mute thing's on the delay.
All right, no problems. Okay, good. Glad you're both here. Thank you for your patience.
I'm still here.
All right, so are we. Okay. All right. So let me start by saying that we, as Victor said, we are looking to combine these cases as essentially one item and recommend it to the full task force for a hearing as a consent agenda item. And what that means in plain language is these cases cover meetings that have already occurred in the past in a specific date range between September 8th, 2020 and April 13th, 2021. They're concerned with basically meeting violations that have already happened. And part of what we do here at EOTC and the SOTF is to help departments, acknowledge what, some shortcomings, learn from them and move forward to better accommodate sunshine records requests and open meetings. So in that spirit, what we'd like to do is, and also let me acknowledge that we did have a previous case that the full task force has heard, file number 20100, which previously found that the BHC violated certain sections regarding past meetings, and there's good detail in our order determination of the different sections of the ordinance that were violated there. And in those meetings and the meetings leading up to it and the subcommittee meetings, both parties have, have had a lot of time on this, and I believe, Mr. Greer, you've acknowledged some of those shortcomings, and we have it on record, and that's great. And Mr. Hillier, I believe, is amenable to having this group together and have it sent up to the full task force as a consent item, to basically get it on the record and say these things happened in the past, and kind of set a benchmark from which to improve upon going forward. Just to give you guys an idea of what might happen, should the full task force accept our recommendations here, we're going to ask for the file to be sent to compliance and amendments in 3 months to review, current and future BHC meetings to make sure that improvements have been made and that everything is going forward in an improved manner. And to that effect, I'm going to ask Mr. Greer to provide us with a manual or description of their, meeting posting guidelines and procedures, and also recommend you keep a log of when your agendas and supporting documents are posted and listed, or posted or submitted for posting, just to show us that you guys are on it and you have a system in place that's going to help you stay in compliance with, with these past, violations that we found on 20100. So that's kind of the stage I'm trying to set here. We're not going to go into the merits of each of these files or the details. This is really to package everything, put it together, and get everyone's blessing to send it up in this format, so we can all kind of log the item and learn from it and move on. So on that note, Mr. Hillier, I'll give you the floor if you'd like to start us off. And Cheryl, please let them know when you're ready.
You may begin.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. I presume I've got the usual 5 minutes. Just as a quick overview of these complaints, complaint number 21021 is the longest one. It goes from September of 2020 through February of 2021, and it's already been heard at the committee level by the complaints committee. It was heard on June 15th of last year. Complaint number 21036 overlaps with 21021. It goes from September of 2020 through the end of that year. It has also been heard by committee. It was heard by the Compliance and Amendments Committee on August 24th of 2021. Complaint number 21087 also overlaps with 21021, and it corresponds to January of 2021, and it was heard in this committee last October 12th of last year. Ones that have not been heard in any committee yet are, and jurisdiction hasn't been officially found, is 21095, and that covers the period of February 3rd through 17th of 2021. So that's extending off the edge of 21021. 21099 corresponds to just one meeting, February 9th of 2021. Complaint number 21103 corresponds to just one meeting, again, February 17th of 2021, and 21118 corresponding to the month of March of 2021. Now, the reason some of these overlap is that I was in the habit of first recording the Brown Act violations in one complaint, and then going back over the same meetings, over my records, and logging what I call the Sunshine Ordinance overhang. Those are violations that, or things that were violations, errors, acts or omissions that were violations of the Sunshine Ordinance, but were not violations of the Brown Act. So in another county, there would have been no violation, but here in San Francisco, there was a violation. So that accounts for 21036 and 21087, and may account also for 21099 as well, and maybe perhaps 21103. I haven't looked at them. I apologize. I had a court hearing today that I've been preparing for the past past week or two, and I'm just totally exhausted. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Anyone here to speak on behalf of the petitioner on this matter? Hearing none. Victor, please let Mr. Greer know when you're ready for him to talk.
You may begin.
Hello?
Yes, please begin.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear anything, but I guess you said I could talk. I really don't know what more to say. We've been through this exhaustive exercise. We have, and I have documented in the past, we have in place a documentation that these items have been posted on time, that these items have been posted at the public library, and that Mr. Hillier's inability, or should I say Officer Hillier's inability to perceive a description on the agenda is his and his opinion alone. Becomes really, redundantly repetitive. You've got miles and miles of documentation of the same thing. There's no address. There's obviously an address on the agenda. You can bring up any one of them and you can see it. He says there's no time or place. You can obviously see a time or place. All of these things have been done in the world of virtual survival, for lack of a better word. I'm just hoping that the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force can see fit to judiciously examine what is really going on here. I openly admitted to errors that we feel have legitimately did fail in. I mean, there was a couple of filings that we did not make. I acknowledge that. But we have a system in place. I'm assuming that you will send me a written document that states what you are needing from the commission. But hopefully this thing can be equitable and we can move forward and we can get back to business instead of being bogged down in a pseudo-legalese kind of existence here. That is all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Greer. Anybody here to speak in support of the respondent? Hearing none, members, the matter is before you, and we're not discussing the merits. We're looking at packaging this and sending it on. But I think I heard from both parties that they are consenting to us treating these items, and I'm going to take a stab at recommending some sections of the code that these items would pertain to. It's very much along the lines of of what we determined in our OD for 20100. Maybe I'll take a stab and read these into the record. And if I'm missing anything, we can add that at this point, or that can be added, at the full task force if they want to accept it as is or add on to it. That's their within their purview. So I think we agree that, and thank you for going through the timeline, Mr. Hillier. But basically, these meetings, BHC and its committees, these meetings took place from a period between September 8th, 2020 through April 13th, 2021. And violations have taken place with one or more of the following Sunshine Ordinance sections, pretty much along the lines of our previous OD on 20100. And those are 67.7A, failing to provide adequate description of agenda items, failing to post the agenda 72 hours in advance of the meeting. 67.7B, by failing to provide a clear description of the matters, and by failing to post supporting documents online or make them available as soon as they were available. 67.7G, failing to include notices of rights under the Sunshine Ordinance on the agenda. And 67.9A, failing to post supplementary documents for the meetings on the internet. So I'd like to make a motion to send this to the full task force, combine those items, and place this on their consent agenda with a recommendation to find the violations that I just read out, and recommend that this be referred to CAC to review future agendas and meeting notices for the VHC, starting on the issue date of the order of determination at the full task force, and to go for 3 months past the date of the OD to gauge compliance. Additionally, I'd like to ask VHC to provide their manual or description of their procedure implemented to address future meetings and noticing and agendas, and also to keep a log of when agendas are posted and supporting documents are made available online or posted going forward for the next 4 months in time for that CAC meeting to gauge compliance. That's a mouthful, but I wanted to get that all into the record. Happy to repeat any of it. Do I have a second?
Chair Hyland, did you include 67.15C, failing to allow public comment?
I did not. So I'll amend it to include that. I was going strictly by what we found on 20100, but I'm happy to include that.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that violation, Jaya. What was that again?
67.15C, failing to allow public comment.
Didn't mean to interrupt. Thank you.
Yeah, so I amend my motion to.
That's not what that section says. That's not what that section says. That's 15A, requiring public comment. 15C is failing to pass a rule requiring public comment or regulating public comment. Sorry, back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you for catching that. So I'm going to amend that to be 6715A, Cheryl, not C.
Got that.
Great. Anything else we want to add?
Well, you can add that that's a lie, but I don't know if you'll put that on the record.
Mr. Greer, we're trying to do this to move forward.
I know. I'll stop.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. All right. There's a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Thank you. Second by Member Padmanabhan.
This is Member Yake. I do have a question.
Go ahead.
For the consent agenda, we need to make sure that the respondent doesn't want to contest any of the violations that we're finding. And so if the respondent, and he sounded like just now that he wanted to hint that he did want to contest one or more, then the consent agenda would not be the appropriate place for this. And so that's, I guess, the question for the respondent here. Did you wish to contest any of those violations before the full task force, or would you be willing to accept this going on their consent agenda?
What is the procedure if I choose to contest? Will this not be consolidated?
We could still consolidate it we could still consolidate the files, but it would be a full hearing where we would go back and forth and talk about examples and the merits of it. Whereas if it's the consent agenda, essentially neither the petitioner nor you need to show up. We kind of just take one mass motion finding all of the recommended violations, you've admitted to them, and then it goes off to compliance to make sure things are, acted upon and like Chair Highland stated that, there's improvement and all the violations are being corrected on a go-forward basis. But if you wanted to get into a discussion of the merits of the case or any of these files, then the consent agenda is not the appropriate place for it.
Okay. Now, I would like to duel it out, but I think in the interest of the commission as a whole, because I am looking out for my commissioners and the Behavioral Health Commission, I think this thing has been, going on excruciatingly long. We fully know the circumstances surrounding meetings between 2019 and 2021. But I would like to accept that we consolidate and move forward, but I would like it to be on the record that I'm doing so under duress.
I don't believe that would be acceptable to accept under duress.
No, I mean, so you could do it with no contest. You can say you don't have to admit necessarily guilt, but you could say that you are saying no contest, and the letter that you sent out would say basically gives one of three options. It says A, do you wish to have a hearing? B, do you wish to just say no contest? Or C, do you wish to actually admit guilt, for lack of a better term, to the violations? And so if you want to say no contest, that's okay. But if you do want to contest it, and I think now's the right time to tell us that.
Right, because the situation is this, and I'm just trying to get clarity. I'm not trying to protract this thing out any longer. It's that there are some errors, and if we're trying to be transparent and move forward, there are errors that did occur that I have to say the Behavioral Health Commission did do, whether it was, by accident, wrong person filing, guy was out of the app, whatever. There was a filing that didn't occur. And on the agenda, there was probably a place that didn't state public comment. But in no way and no time was there ever not an opportunity for the public to speak at any of our meetings. So I would have to stand on that, and I'll have to take the no contest just simply to get us to move on.
Okay, so I think we should say, make sure that we put in the record, Cheryl or Victor, that the respondent has agreed to move forward with the statement of no contest on the violations. And we should put that then on the consent agenda when that goes forward. Does that sound good to everyone?
It does.
Sure.
Yep.
Robin. I just want to make sure that this doesn't turn into a confusing thing when we get to the full task force, and that we backtrack on the progress that we've made is all. I just want to make sure it's packaged up as tight as possible.
Great. Thank you.
I saw a question. Matt? The respondent has agreed to go forward. I didn't get the last part.
I think
Under
I said
protest.
no. I think they said with a statement of contest.
Jeez.
Did you want me to say it again?
No.
No,
Hold on.
Matthew, I'm getting notices of bad network quality, and I was asking member Yankee
I will handle this
to complete the
Cheryl,
sentence. The respondent
Cheryl,
has agreed to go forward, and that was
Cheryl,
with
let Victor.
I was here from the beginning, and I will note this one for you. Okay. I will take care of writing this motion and the summary of this action. This is the first time we've ever done this. I will write this summary and present it to the task force. I will provide a summary of all the actions taken today, and I will note the no contest by the Behavioral Health Commission representative.
Thank you so much, Victor.
And since we brought that up, Matt, Mr. Member Yankee, should we allow Mr. Hillier to say how he wants to, or maybe it doesn't apply to the petitioner? I guess.
Well, I mean, we're essentially granting the violations that he did. So, I mean, I don't think there's much more to say on that side.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hillier, are you happy with what you're hearing?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am a little concerned. There were many violations that were not voted on the previous complaint 20143 and they're noted on the spreadsheet that I sent to you and Victor. And there are also a number of violations that were left out of the list that you and Member Padmanabhan just read. I'm looking through my spreadsheet to find if they were on the numbered complaints that I made these complaints, but there were violations, if I recall correctly, of section 67.15C. I repeatedly complained that people were being allowed, members of the public were being allowed to speak at meetings out of turn, without timing, and without waiting for a period of public comment when the other members of the public could speak.
Right. Mr. Hillier, let me stop you there. This is not, the purpose of this is not to get a complete laundry list of everything. It's to get enough in the record to show that these violations took place. We have the non-contest agreement of the respondent. I think that's a good place to move forward from. And really, this is about, we're not slapping the knuckles. We're helping show the areas where they need to improve upon and help them do that by recommending this to CAC down the road. So I'm trying to keep this very positive and educational, if nothing else, for BHC. So in that spirit, if you would be okay with what we've listed, that will help us move forward.
Well, I could only say in response to that, Mr. Chair, I'm just uncertain what the effect is of things being left off of that list will be. So I can't quite say whether I'm happy with the list, because I don't know quite what it means.
Well, the list it's very much along the lines of the previous violations we found on 20100. Given that these are all meetings that have taken place in the past, and the respondent has acknowledged that there were some shortcomings, and we're using that, we're getting it in the record, and we're potentially moving forward to monitor them to show improvements.
It doesn't sound to me like they're acknowledging their shortcomings in only the most gross respects are they doing so. They've said that the descriptions of items to be transacted or discussed are adequate, and they've furthermore said that the law is vague and uncertain.
Mr. Hillier, I'm gonna stop you there, because not to get into the merits of everything, but they've accepted enough, non-contest, and I think that's good enough, to get this where we need to get it. So I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty. I said that at the beginning. I think this is enough to, give them a chance to clean the slate and get them to move forward in a more appropriate manner. Do you agree with that?
I'm uncertain what you're asking me for my agreement on. I'm sorry,
Well,
I'm just not understanding.
Yeah, I'm just giving you a chance to respond, but I think we're going to move forward with what we have, with the respondent stating no contest, with the violations that we've suggested, and that's going to go to the full task force as a consent agenda item. So, on that note, why don't we get some public comment on that motion? Victor, please call for public comment.
Yes. Are there any members of the public who wish to provide public comment on this matter? I do not believe this second call. I am looking at the list of. Please state your name.
Public comment, please.
Please state your name. Please state your name.
I shouldn't have to give my name, but.
Or say it anonymous if you don't want to give your name, please. We're trying to get a list of how many speakers we have.
Well, this is Peter Warfield from Library Users Association.
Okay, please proceed.
Will you give me a 30-second warning, please?
Yes, I will. Just to note, Mr. Warfield, we have reduced tonight's speaker time to 2 minutes due to the volume of the public commenters today. So you have 2 minutes for public comment.
All right. I wasn't able to hear the full matter, and I don't know what the motion is that you're considering other than to send it forward to the full Sunshine Task Force. I wasn't able to be in on this earlier, but from what I have heard, I'm very much troubled by what seems to be the objective is to have folks improve. And this is not a kindergarten or a classroom in which you neutrally, as far as I'm concerned, I believe that the Sunshine Task Force is basically finding whether there were violations and essentially commanding what has to be done to fix the violations. One of the issues that I have with no contest is that I don't see that there's really a serious effort or even a serious ability to have an effort to understand what went wrong and why. And that's important. Essentially, when you go to a doctor, the doctor doesn't say, oh, I'll give you some cream for this pimple, and then I'll give you some cream for some more for that pimple. Maybe the doctor wants to do a thorough diagnosis and find out that there's some systemic rash going on and that has something to do with not being dealt with creams, but with some other solution or treatment. So I also hear that the complainant is concerned about whether the respondent is sufficiently aware of what's wrong, is changing what is happening as a result, and so on and so forth. And those are also things that I think are important when you have a hearing to find out and to determine and to have that relate to what the finding is of violation as well as what the recommendation is for a fix in your order of determination. So I think that certainly this should go forward, but I think there should be a lot more looking into what's going on and why and what should be done to fix it. Thanks very much.
Are there any other members of the public for public comment at this time? I do not believe we have any other public commenters at this time.
Okay, let's close public comment. Victor, when you're ready, you take a Roll call.
Yes, on the motion. Sorry, I don't have a vote sheet. Cheryl, would you mind taking the vote? I don't have a vote sheet in front of me.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So Highland was the maker, Padmanabhan was the second.
Yeah. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Padmanabhan, aye. Member Yankee?
Aye.
Member Yankee, aye. Victor, you have the violation?
Yes, I do have the motion of the proposed violation with the no contest, and this matter will be referred as to the SOTF consent agenda. I just like to note that nothing prevents Mr. Hillier from filing additional complaints for future Behavioral Health Commission meetings if he feels that additional violations are occurring. However, the motion is as it stands at this moment.
Chair Hyland, would you like me to read what I have?
Nope, that's okay. Let's go to the next item, please. Mr. Young has it in the record.
Okay. Item number 8, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items by members of the Education, Outreach, and Training Committee.
And just wanted to say a quick thank you to Mr. Hillier and Mr. Greer for toughing it out. It's been a long meeting. Thank you both for being here. All right, next item. Any announcements? Members? Member Yankee, you're practically here as a regular member, so if you want to make any announcements, it would always be welcome.
I'm all set.
All right, not trying to put you on the spot or anything.
No announcements.
All right, okay. Member Padmanabhan?
None for me.
All right. None here. Other than our next meeting is up in the air. We'll probably have some direction on that in the next week or so. But that's really it from me. Any public comment on item number 8?
Yes, please.
That's Mr. Warfield. Anybody else for public comment? Hearing none. Cheryl, please let Mr. Warfield know when you're ready. And 2 minutes.
Mr. Warfield, are you ready to begin?
Just let me know when to start, please. And give me a 30-second warning.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. This is Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association, Library Users 2004 at yahoo.com, and also P.O. Box 170544, San Francisco, California, 94117-0544. First of all, I certainly think that the process, this new process that you've got with consent and so on and so forth, there should be some scheduling for evaluation and comments certainly by the task force and by the public as well. And that should be something that ought to be scheduled even before any conclusion of this, as I understood it to be, a trial process. Another thing that I would like is for a consideration of your instructions on your agenda. I note that what you've got is very little with regard to how to make a public comment other than please press *6. I think it's quite confusing. If you wish to, I'll read from what you've got in 3 lines only on your agenda. If you wish to make a statement,
30 seconds.
Please press *6 and unmute your telephone to speak. Well, I think *6 presumably already does that. I have separate controls for muting on the phone. The very unclear thing is please also note that callers may now raise their hands by pressing *5, and they may be able to do that, but when should they do it? When do they have to do it? And so on. It's not at all clear. So there's 2 things to press they do opposite things on alternate moments, and I think that should be made clearer. And perhaps you might discuss what those instructions should be. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Warfield. Anybody else for comment on item number 8? Hearing none, public comment is closed. Ms. Leger, next item, please.
Item number 9, adjournment. I have 9:03.
By acclamation? See heads nodding.
Moves.
All right. We
All
are.
right.
Thank you. Everyone.
Let
Thanks.
me stop the recording.
Good night.
Thanks.
Or good morning. Depending where you're at.
All right. Bye-bye.